Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into workshops where Aztec artisans turned feathers into empires. Imagine a room humming like a beehive, except instead of honey, they're bottling moonlight through bird wings. You probably won't survive the feather taxes, but let's pretend you've got a shot. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Where's your pillow fort tonight? Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'll mentally high-five anyone grinding through this at 3 a.m. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step into a hall, so dim your eyes, take 3 breaths to adjust. Wicker baskets line the walls, overflowing with feathers that shimmer like oil on water. Fingers dart through piles, separating gold-green Quetzal plumes from crow-black veins stained with midnight. The air tastes like dust and crushed marigolds. Someone's grinding pigments in the corner, their mortar hissing. Workers murmur names under their breath, not of birds, but regions. Tlaxcala, a woman whispers, holding up a feather that glows like embers. Quetzal corrects her apprentice, testing the barb's flex against his thumbnail. Historical records confirm this. The Aztec Empire demanded feathers as tribute from conquered cities, down to the exact shade of blue. Your sleeve brushes a basket, and a hummingbird plume drifts upward, defying gravity like it remembers flight. Catch it, and you'll feel the faintest buzz. Quirky fact: some artisans believed certain feathers retained a bird's heartbeat. They'd press quills to their wrists before weaving, checking for phantom pulses. A girl across the room spins a feather between her palms, testing its voice. Good shafts hum in C-sharp, they say. Bad ones croak like frogs. You reach for a crimson tuft, but an old woman slaps your wrist. That's Zacuan, she scowls, steals your shadow if you touch it barehanded. Lanterns flicker as you pass rows of sorting tables. Workers pluck barbs with tweezers made of jade, each click precise as a clock's tick. Contraband crow feathers get tossed into clay bowls, doomed to become dye factory fuel. Historians still argue whether royals preferred exotic plumes or secretly hoarded common ones, the feather equivalent of sweatpants, disguised as silk. You pause before a mural of Moctezuma's cloak, a cascade of turquoise and blood red. Notice the owl feathers fringing the hem. They're not for style. Artisans stitched them upside down to snag jealous spirits like Velcro. A draft slithers through the room, and feathers flutter, some spinning in perfect spirals. A teenage boy nearby sorts plumes into reed boxes, humming a tune older than his grandfather's bones. His fingers move faster than logic allows. Lean closer, and you'll spot the blisters. Apprentices worked until their fingerprints faded. Smooth hands meant mastery. One basket overflows with downy fluff. Touch it, and your palm comes away glittering. They saved goose undercoating for padding noble helmets. Softness mattered when your skull's getting rattled in battle. Across the aisle, a man dyes egret plumes using crushed cochineal bugs. His vat bubbles like a witch's brew, staining the steam pink. You stumble into a storage room stacked with feather rolls, tight as cigars. Unwrap one, and it springs open like a book. Each quill's tied with agave thread color-coded to its source, green for coastal jungles, yellow for highland markets. Lose the thread, and you'll spend weeks matching hues under different skies. A giggle erupts from behind a feather curtain. Two girls play a forbidden game, tossing hummingbird plumes at a sunbeam. First to hit the light wins a dried mango slice. Their supervisor naps nearby, snoring into a pile of macaw feathers. Careful, laugh too loud, and you'll wake him. The workshop's heartbeat is the scrape of obsidian blades. Masters trim feather veins with razors sharper than regret. They teach pupils to cut on the exhale, splitting shafts without a sound. One slip, and you've wasted a month's tribute. Two slips, and they'll demote you to sweeping iridescent dust. You spot a Quetzal tail, feather longer than your arm, its green so vivid it hurts. Only emperors could wear these, yet 3 sit abandoned on a stool. Touch one, and a distant shriek echoes parrots, or the ghost of the bird itself. The Aztec believed feathers carried fragments of a creature's soul. As dusk bleeds through smoke holes, workers light rush lamps. Shadows twist into bird shapes on the walls, herons, eagles, a clumsy pigeon. That's your cue to leave. Historians agree workshops shut at sunset. No one sorted feathers under moonlight without courting allied demons. The last thing you see, a toddler in the corner plucking fluff from a duck's breast. Her mother lets her keep the down, practice for when she'll sort jadebird plumes in a decade. You step back into cooler air, skin dusted with feather fragments that cling like hesitant snow. They'll brush off by dawn, or not. Some say traded feathers followed their owners home, restless for new skies. You kneel beside a basket of hummingbird feathers, each no larger than your pinky nail. Their iridescence plays tricks, one moment emerald, the next volcanic glass. Workers call them petal rain, stolen pieces of amaranth flowers that forgot to fall. Your thumb grazes a barb. Heat prickles your skin, not imagined warmth. Records show ambassadors hauled these feathers over mountains, tribute from conquered coastal towns. Experts think warriors wore them as living armor, a glittering distraction before spears struck. A sorting matron leans close, her breath smells of burnt tortillas. Every quill chooses its weaver, she rasp whispers. Pity the fool who grabs instead of being chosen. You freeze mid-reach as a cobalt feather inches toward your sleeve, its hooked tongue brushing your wrist. Moonlight reveals the truth. Tiny hooks interlock like armor scales. Historians still argue whether nobles felt the feather's heat, or if that's just poets romanticizing royal sweat. Your palms dampen, holding 5 plumes. Their veins ripple as though still pinned to thrumming wings. Workers test feathers in smoke. Those that spiral counterclockwise get tossed. One man hums while sorting, claiming perfect C# notes, loosen stuck barbs. Ever hear of feather drunkards? Sorters must abstain from pulque for weeks, claim the agave muddies their color vision. You pocket a fallen barb, an accident, surely. Firelight dances across your stolen prize. The matron's laugh scrapes your spine dry as rattlesnake tails. Check your shadow come dawn, she croons. Sunrise eats thieves, silhouettes here. Weight matters more than shimmer. Workers float feathers over bronze bowls, winnowing miracles from rejects. 23 feathers equal 1 hair's weight, or so the song goes. Fail the test, and your month's wage buys enough corn for 3 mice. Night work brings strange rules. No whistling might summon feather moths from the rafters. No counting allowed. Numbers anger the arithmetic gods. You mime 10 with your fingers. A worker slaps your hand. Turns out even gestures have weight here. Tribute tags dangle from bundles, woven glyphs naming far-off places. Tenochtitlan reeks of salt air, a moonlit journey across rebel lands. You trace a jaguar knight's insignia, 3 plumes missing. Sacrifice or bad accounting. The matron's knife answers before your tongue forms the question. Baskets of rejected barbs glow under dawn's first rays, soon becoming scribe kindling. Their ashes season palace ink. You swear 1 charred plume winks as it burns, but exhaustion blurs all truths here. They say dying nobles clutch cloaks to their cheeks. Last sensation before darkness. You're starting to understand why. That stolen feather warms your palm, a captured sunrise humming with stolen jungle wind. The matron was right about shadows, though yours now lacks a right hand. The obsidian blade rests colder than winter like ice against your palm, its edge thinner than a god's patience. Real history time. Aztec craftsmen honed these using reed saws and volcanic sand. Modern metallurgists still wince studying recreations. 1 slice could dissect a human hair lengthwise. Your stolen feather trembles as you approach the cutting mat, its cobalt veins shuddering like a cornered rabbit. Workers dip blades in fermented agave sap first. Alcohol sanitizes while honoring the sacrifice. Miss that step, and the feather's spirit haunts your sleep. Ever hear of the feather sneeze plague? 17 sorters died last dry season, their lungs clogged with vengeful down. Now they burn copal resin every 3rd hour. Smoke stings your eyes into tearful compliance. The master cutter demonstrates. A single exhale steams the obsidian edge silver. Blade must sigh through the shaft, not slice, she murmurs. Her movement flows like poured mercury. Quill separating into 2 perfect halves. Yours looks like a toddler nodded. Historians still argue whether the ceremonial breathing technique prevented splintering or just gave apprentices time to panic. Your 7th attempt almost works until the blade nicks your thumb. Blood beads black in torchlight. Workers mutter about bad omens. That missing shadow hand throbs, or maybe that's just standard regret. They use human hair for binding, women's strands donated during mourning periods. Soak them in honey first, makes the threads hum when drying. Your fingers stick together, clumsy as a drunk porcupine. A child giggles until you glare, her amusement melts into a cough. Every knot tied represents a day's march to Tenochtitlan, or so the tally keepers chant. Count wrong, and senior weavers redo your work with mocking precision. Ever try untying honey-stiffened hair? It's like bargaining with barbed wire. The stolen feather complicates things. Its barbs keep realigning, avoiding your blade like a live thing. Workers shoot sidelong glances. A girl whispers about feather ghosts, seeking revenge. Her companion hushes her with a tamale bite. Boiling water softens shafts before binding. Steam carries the stench of wet dog. Breathe through your mouth, and it tastes like a jaguar's breakfast. Breathe through your nose, and you'll retch for hours. Choose wisely. Midday sun reveals your failure, the obsidian edge cracked from improper angles. The master cutter tuts, her disappointment sharper than the blade. She confiscates your tools, assigns you to pluck loose threads from finished cloaks. Here's the indignity. Royal garments shed feathers constantly. Silver pheasant down clings to your eyelashes. Quetzal strands coil around your ankles like jealous serpents. Workers call this sky dandruff, claim it clouds the mind if inhaled. The stolen barb warms again, burnishing your palm red. You consider tossing it into a dye vat until it twitches toward a half-finished warrior's mantle. Crimson threads pulse where it lands, a heartbeat rhythm thrumming through silk. Nightfall brings a consolation task, polishing blade fragments into trading beads. Obsidian dust itches worse than fire ant bites. Your shadow remains maimed, its handlessness growing less jarring by the hour. The matron warned you. Consequences come slow and sticky here. Final insult. Your cloak thread quota sits unfinished. Moonlight stretches your stunted shadow across the workshop floor, a skinny giant with missing fingers. The stolen feather gleams in your clenched fist, now fused to skin like a grotesque new nail. Workers avoid your bench. Even the torches sputter when you pass. Moonlight stripes the workshop floor like a spectral jaguar, your shadow's missing fingers stretching toward stacked feather grids. Real history lesson. The Aztec used feather mosaics to record crop yields and conquests. But this, workers shuffle past with armfuls of crow plumes, each barb numbered with Beetlejuice ink. One guy's muttering about Alpelt ledgers. Apparently, their talon scratches translated as tax records. Your fused feather tugs toward a drying rack, codices stretched like hides between cedar frames. Touch one, and indigo veins curl into shapes, arrowheads for battles, cornstalks for harvest counts. A master hisses, you jerk back as the feathers snap into place. Read sideways, he grumbles, verticals for living scribes, horizontal honors ghosts. Historians still argue whether these feathered texts held real data or just pretty metaphors for priests. You lean closer, dawn gold Quetzal, Plumes shimmer into a cityscape. Pyramids built from hummingbird throats, canals made of parrot tail ripples. Notice the lack of warglyphs. This grid's all fat maize and smiling suns, propaganda for dopey foreign traders. Workers dunk codices in pine resin, freezing the feathers mid-shimmer. One intern screws up, larvae hatch from untreated shafts overnight. They call it the moth census. Entire harvest records fluttering out windows by sunrise. Your stolen barb twitches, its tip etching symbols into your palm. Ignore the warm trickle, could be sweat or liquid amber. Night guards patrol with slingshots, their clay pellets knocking dust from sacred texts. A viper-quick movement, they're stealing flakes of pigment. Black market buyers pay well for codex dandruff, supposedly cures night blindness. You pocket a crumb, it dissolves on your tongue like burnt honey. The matron catches you, assigns grunt work, sorting molted quill sheaths. Each cylindrical husk fits over your thumb, a translucent grave for shed keratin. Stack them wrong, and they whistle after midnight. Ever heard 1,300 feather coffins wailing like tea kettles? The bats love it, flutter through rafters, dropping guano applause. Dawn reveals your sabotage. Someone replaced crow feathers with dyed pigeon plumes. Masters sniff the fraud, pigeon barbules lack crow's telltale musk. They're burning the fakes while chanting something about offended graves. Your left hand's numb now, the fused feather grown into a jagged cuticle. Workers sidestep your shadows, warped geometry. A girl slips you cactus wine, giggles when you spill it trying to sip. Ghosts hate sobriety, she whispers. True enough, the stolen barb glows where wine splashed. Moonlight hits it just right. The projection shows a feathered serpent devouring stars. Matron's voice slices through the buzz. Study the sky grid. You squint at pigeon plume constellations, their veins misaligned by careless sorting. Real sky watchers tracked Venus cycles through color-coded feathers. But this, faded ochre strands, map a Mars path from 8 years back. Some apprentices' decades-old mistake, preserved like a fly in amber. Your mangled hand brushes the codex, feathers ripple into a new pattern. Jade beads for rain counts, crescent barbs representing stillbirths. A section glows faintly, depicting cloaked figures, tossing plumes into a void. Workers cross themselves. Turns out you're touching the band Sky Hunger Records. The matron smacks your wrist. Codes scramble into nonsense. She hisses an old threat. Feathers remember which hands are unclean. Your shadow twitches, its stump fingers finally regrowing, but with too many joints. Clocks ticking, that fused plumes halfway to your elbow now. The codex lies dormant, its secrets retreating into veins. Workers resume chanting. Somewhere, a moth laughs. Cold starlight fades as workers form a crescent around clay basins, their chant syncing with your throbbing forearm. Real talk, Aztec sorting writes timed events by night's division into 15 parts. But the fourth hour's special, matrons pour pre-dawn, due into obsidian cups, each droplet tested for sky clarity, using polished jade mirrors. You mimic their palm-up stance, sticky plumeria, sap gluing feathers to your fingertips. A novice sneezes, 300 downy strands stick to his face. Everyone pretends not to notice, except the giggling girl from the wine incident. Her basket overflows with crow plumes, but wait. Crow barbules curl left, these twist right dyed gull feathers. Dew hits the first plume, a hummingbird shaft from Oaxaca. It pearls into a perfect sphere. Accepted, intones the matron. Next, a frayed eagle contour feather. Dew slides off like mercury. Workers' grown, failed plumes get tossed into reed boxes. Pigeon down ignites fast, ideal for cremation pyres. Turns out scribes requested flammable quills for their own funerals. Macabre recycling program. Your stolen feather arm pulses, veins threading through hollow shafts. Historians still argue whether dew tests measured water resistance or divine favor. You dip a fingertip into a basin. Liquid seeps upward into your mutated quills. The matron glares too late. Your hand becomes a feathery hydra. 19 new barbs squirming toward the sky. Workers scatter as dawn's first rays hit the courtyard. A fringe theory pops into your head. Some codices claim solarized to cured feather mites. You lick a barb, tastes like limes and tomb dust. The giggling girl tosses you a cactus spine. For balancing, she mouths. Stab a quill's base. It stiffens into a sundial pointer. Your shadow stretches across failed plumes, their charred edges already smoking. Matrons ignite the pyre with magnified sunlight. Ash flakes rise as inverted snow. 37 scribe names echo through the smoke. One feather escapes, a fireproof magpie tail barb from up north. Watch it soar over the workshop, straight into a waiting vulture's beak. Good omen, insists a worker. His buddy snorts. That's the tax collector's pet. Your hydra arm spasms, quills engraving symbols into dirt. A shopping list, salt jade beads, and something involving fermented axolotl. The matron grabs your wrist, her thumb smearing the message. Unsanctioned augury, she hisses. Your feathers wilt temporarily. Dew evaporates from the basins, leaving mineral ghosts of flower petals. Workers scrub them clean with corn husks, each stroke counting down to next year's ceremony. Your arm itches, new down erupting beneath the skin. You glance at the gaggle of novices. One's plucking his own eyelashes, testing if they'll hold dew. The giggling girl flickers at the courtyard's edge, half veiled by rising heat. Her basket's empty now, but her sandals leave no prints in the ash. The giggling girl's ash-flecked shadow leads you downward, stone stairs groaning under your mutated feathers. Basement air clings, thick, indigo stink, blending with old blood. Remember those red cloaks from last month's victory parade. They're here, 37 crimsons hung limp in the gloom. Real talk, Aztec dyers revolutionized cochineal farming. But nobody mentions the mildew problem. A mage kneels before bubbling vats. Her chant syncs with your quills twitching. Conqueror's scarlet bleeds arrogance, she mutters. You glance at a cloak's hem, faded to corpse gray. Workers swear certain blues repel bad luck, hence tonight's makeover. A novice drops a dye brick. It shrieks like a throttled parakeet. The mage doesn't flinch. Third time this week, sighs a guard, sharpening an obsidian spatula. Steam shapes coil upward, forming jaguar snouts that dissolve into laughter. Your hydroarm extends toward the vat, quills drinking indigo runoff. Tastes like burnt honey and anger. Historians still argue whether color shifts came from mineral blends or sacrificed poet's breath. The mage grips your wrist, her nails drawing black sap from your feathers. Don't siphon the regret, she warns. Too late, your tongue turns cyan, every swallow recounting fallen Tlaxcalan warriors' last curses. Workers dunk cloaks, using cedar paddles, fabric resisting the dye like stubborn children. One robe floats belly up, its embroidered eagles now squid-like in the murk. Reject, snaps the mage. The failed garment gets fed to a ceiling pulley, where tax vultures rip it into nest liner. You spot the giggling girl perched on a beam, plucking lice from a bird's ruff. Midnight bells tremor through stone. The vats emit a low C-sharp hum, your fillings vibrate. Ancestor voices, or just fermented urine reacting with limestone. Workers drop copper strips into the brew, instant patina blooming like sapphire bruises. A guard whispers that certain blues glow brightest under jealous eyes. Hence, emperors hosting dye viewings during lunar eclipses. Your corrupted arm explores a drainage grate, feather tips, finding human teeth lodged in the cracks. Conquerors, molars, maybe, or overambitious apprentices. The mage stomps her foot, a hidden cistern gurgles awake. 500 live snails emerge their trails, etching protective sigils on the floor. Fringe theory alert, some codices claim mollusk slime prevented dye fraud. You pocket 2 snails. They immediately start humming in unison. One cloak finally takes the indigo, rippling like lake ice under winter sun. The mage nods, workers applaud, until 7 veins burst in the vat. Necrotic liquid oozes toward your sandals. Stand clear, hisses a dyer, his ladle sizzling where droplets land. The giggling girl lobs a cactus fruit into the spill acidic pulp, neutralizing the hazard. Half the workers nod thanks. The others side-eye her a little too hard. Dawn approaches dye, fumes thinning into something breathable. Your arms' blue stains won't scrub off, but the thirst for conquerors, regrets lingers worse. The mage presents the reborn cloak, its hem whispering Nahuatl verses only fire knows. You touch a sleeve, coldness climbs your spine like tree frogs. Quirky tidbit warriors believed these cloaks leaked dye during cowardice. An early lie detector test. Outside, The tax collector's vulture coughs up a scrap of crimson, still undigested. The mage kicks it into a brazier. Flame tongues twist into eagle shapes, then unravel like old knitting. Your stolen feathers molt, blue-tipped quills clattering into the ashes. Collect 3, they hum when placed north-south. The giggling girl winks, sweeping your discards into her apron. Shift, change, bells clang. Workers rub onion halves under their eyes, counteracting dye-induced tears. You exit, hydroarm shriveled to a scaly twig. A snail peeks from your pocket, shell pulsating with stolen blue. Ahead, the palace glimmers, its new cloaks hung to dry on execution scaffolds. One sways empty sleeves, filling with a wind that smells suspiciously of fermented axolotl. You creep past scaffolds hung with dripping indigo cloaks, their sleeves slapping your face like wet eels. Remember those stolen snails humming in your pocket. Their shells pulse faster as you approach the temple's rear gate, where molted macaw feathers carpet the steps. Real talk, Aztec nobles kept entire aviaries of exotic birds, though nobody warned you about the parrot guano hailstorms. A gang of kids materializes, bare feet crunching feather shafts into iridescent dust. Their leader squints at your stolen plumes. Fakes, she declares. You cough up 2 copper beads, standard payment for apprentices caught gate crashing. Historians still argue whether these orphans were pious devotees or exploited child labor. The girl pockets your bribe, her calloused fingers betraying 12 years of barb sorting. The aviary stench hits like a shovel rotten mangoes, fermenting in parrot vomit. Kids crawl through ceiling-high feather piles, their hands moving faster than hummingbird wings. One boy extracts a flawless scarlet barb, holding it against the sunrise. See the spider veins. He sneers. A rival snatches it. The quill snaps mid-tug. Both freeze. A priest materializes, his all-feather cloak hissing. The children kowtow, except the boldest girl. She stuffs the broken plume into her cheek, punishment fat. The priest growls. 2 teens drag her off their grip, loosening near a mural of smiling Quetzals. Quirky tidbit, temple records mention beetle larvae that nibble flawed barbs, nature's own quality control. You pocket a grub. It immediately starts gnawing your fingernail. Sunlight slants through jade tiles, projecting feather-shaped shadows that twitch like skinned snakes. Kids sort plumes into reed baskets dyed with insulting colors. Yellow means vulture reject, whispers a boy with squid ink stains under his eyes. You swipe a sunset orange barb. Its afterimage burns your palm like chili oil. The priest's sandal taps 3 times. The orphans stiffen. Sorting trials begin. Each child licks a random feather, then spits into clay bowls. The bold girl, returned with blue-stained lips, watches her saliva bubble black. Flaw confirmed, nods the priest. She grins, revealing the snapped barb wedged between her molars. Clever little thug. A gong rings. Kids scramble up rope ladders, avian screeches crescendoing as they raid macaw nests. Molted plumes rain down, along with half-eaten termites. One girl pirouettes to dodge falling debris, her laugh echoing Montezuma's own zoo designs. True story, the Templo Mayor aviary held 10,000 birds, all defecating on imperial tax records. Dusk brings howler monkey choruses and the priest's nightly inspection. He probes baskets with a jade probe that hums near fakes. Your beetle larva convulses, pointing its antennae toward a perfect plume. The priest freezes. His probe stabs the feather, exposing mold inside the hollow shaft. 3 guards haul the responsible kid away, her pleas drowned by macaws mimicking her screams. Moonrise, the bold girl finds you squinting at feather barbs. Blood angle, she advises, tilting a plume until moonlight reveals hidden streaks. Dead macaw's last flight path. You replicate her technique. Spots erupt along the spine like pocks. She cackles, then sobers. Don't find the warped ones. They'll make you burn your own hands. Cool wind snakes through the aviary, stirring feathers into dust devils that scratch glyphs on the walls. The priest barks orders. Orphans form a fire, brigade passing baskets. One kid trips, sending 200 plumes into a ceremonial fountain. Everyone stares as waterlogged barbs surface, arranged into a grinning skull shape. Your beetle larva applauds with its mandibles. Midnight, your elbow deep in owl pellets, sorting feather fragments by phosphorescence. The bold girl appears, her breath smelling of stolen pulque. Want to see where the really good plumes go? She leads you to a collapsed tunnel, its entrance choked with hummingbird skulls. Inside glows a warehouse stacked with feathered codices leaking liquid starlight. Your beetle larva faints. Shouts erupt. The priest's owl cloak billows into the tunnel, but the girl's already gone. You're left clutching a single codex page, its feather ink depicting a child swallowing a jaguar whole. The priest snatches it, his pupils dilating as the image rearranges into his own face. He burns the page, but not before whispering its blessing over your stolen plumes. Dawn stains the aviary red. The bold girl's absence hangs heavy like a plucked macaw's unanswered mating call. Workers arrive, their sandals kicking up feather dust that stings like betrayal. Your larva revives, chewing through a basket labeled sacred to reveal moldy crow plumes underneath. Classic temple economics, always faking the premium inventory. As you exit, a shadow detaches from the gate, the girl pressing something into your palm. A molted macaw feather, perfectly warped. For your collection, she grins. You swear its barbs pricked her fingerprint into the spine. The priest's gong tolls. Behind you, a chorus of children's laughter twists into macaw shrieks, harmonizing with your still humming snails. You brush fingers across a wall, oozing golden resin, thick as honey, but smelling of lightning struck pine. Workers kneel below beehives cemented into temple walls, their straws sucking amber without breaking the hexagonal seals. Fun fact: Aztec glue recipes mixed orchid sap with beetle spit, but bees demanded tribute. Your stolen larva perks up, sniffing toward a dripping hive shaped like a jaguar's skull. A weaver beckons you into a vault where Quetzal plumes float in liquid amber, each spine suspended mid-snap. The bee's anger, she mutters, jabbing a bone spatula into the goo. Sparks fly where metal touches resin. True story: the Florentine Codex documents amber for feather trades, though it omits the part about hallucinogenic hive fumes. You choke back a giggle as the air blurs into molten gold swirls. Apologies first, the weaver insists, pressing your palm against a limestone hive. Vibrations hum through your bones, a million wings murmuring hymns. Workers chant, with mouths full of beeswax, their words distorted into buzzing lullabies. Historians still argue whether these rituals honored pollinators or just prevented apiary sabotage. The larva in your pocket starts vibrating sympathetically, its mandibles etching frantic circles on your thigh. 3 apprentices struggle with a feather cape stiffer than sunset. Cursed badge, grunts the tallest, snapping an owl quill. Amber bleeds from the fracture, forming teardrops that harden into tiny honeycombs. The weaver sighs, then snaps the salvageable half into a hairpin. For your next bad decision, she smirks, tucking it behind your ear. Moonlight reveals amber's secret. Feathers preserved this way stay supple for centuries. Workers fish out a hummingbird plume submerged since Moctezuma's reign. Its barbs still ripple like liquid metal. Your larva lunges, gets stuck mid-leap in an amber puddle. Free him after prayers, shrugs the weaver as the trapped grub gnaws angrily on its own tail. The temple's head beekeeper arrives, his mask woven from drone wings. He inspects your stolen macaw feather, then spits turquoise honey onto its warped spine. Lick, he commands. The honey bites your tongue, part nectar, part warning. Your pupils dilate, suddenly seeing the feather's true form, a coiled serpent with plumed scales. The beekeeper nods. Now you'll never work with counterfeits. Workers uncork a vat of rookie mistakes, feathers botched by clumsy apprentices. Bees swarm the pile, encasing failures in amber tombs. One insect pauses on your shoulder, its legs dusted with feather mites. You hold still, memorizing the weight of a living brooch. The larva in amber squeaks, jealous, or maybe just digesting. Dawn rituals begin. Chanters blow smoke rings to herd bees into battle formations. Hives rattle, their buzzes sinking to war drums from the palace plaza. The weaver presses a thumb-sized amber tablet into your hand, a feather fragment suspended inside. Break it during your next lie, she warns. You squint, the trapped barb twitches toward your pulse point. Sudden rainstorm, workers scramble to cover drying amber sheets. Your boots stick to spillway tiles coated in centuries of resin. The bold larva, now half embedded, waves a free leg toward shelter. You crouch under a hawk-shaped hive, listening. every raindrop hitting amber echoes like a dying bee's final buzz. A novice slips, sending a bride's feathered headdress sliding toward open flame. The weaver dives, plunging her bare hands into molten amber to redirect it. Her skin sizzles, but she's grinning. Degree burns bounce right off calluses, true dedication. Or maybe those hive fumes finally fried her pain receptors. Your stolen feather grows heavy, its warped spine leaching blue stains into your palm. The beekeeper notices and slathers your hand in wax, keeps the rot from spreading past your wrist. You flex stiff fingers, they click like beetle shells. The larva applauds, still stuck, now nibbling an amber air bubble. Nightfall brings inspections. Workers probe each amber slab with heated needles. Pure batches sing when pierced, a high C that shatters weak glass. Your test feather screeches like a butchered parrot, drawing grim nods. They melt it into window seals, ensuring palace spies hear bird screams at every dawn. The weaver catches you pocketing amber scraps. Instead of rage, she laughs. Toss those in a rival's bathwater. Watch leg hair crystallize. You imagine nobles clawing at gem-encrusted ankles and smile. The larva sighs enviously, its amber prison now fogged with condensation doodles of your face. Final task, carry a breastplate to the armory. Its amber plates hold warrior plumes passed through 9 generations. The weight strains your spine, each step leaves gold footprints in volcanic ash. Workers whisper, stumble, and you'll reincarnate as a wax-melting slave. Motivational, midnight finds you picking amber flecks from your teeth and the larva from its golden trap. It rewards freedom by devouring your leftover honey wax, then passes out in a pollen-drunk stupor. Your stolen feather pulses, warmer than blood, lighter than guilt. Bees swarm a dying torch nearby, their shadows stretching into feather shapes that fade with the embers. Rainwater slithers down your neck as workers lead you into a reed boat, its hull stained with century-old algae. Lake Texcoco's mist hugs your skin damp and sulfur-scented like a half-remembered nightmare. True story, Aztec rulers dredged sacred plumes from these waters to pacify rain gods, though nobody mentions the leeches. Your stolen larva trembles in its amber lump, either sensing ghosts or just hating humidity. Storm clouds bruise the sky as divers surface, mouths full of sodden feathers. Their plumes spiral inward like drowned hair, gray and lifeless, until moonlight hits. Workers whisper these strands come from kings who traded crowns for gills, their skeletons still tangled in lakeweed crowns. Historians still argue whether they're literal corpses or just poetic license gone murky. You cough, a waterlogged feather sticks to your tongue. Tastes like regret and duckweed. A priestess presses a mottled quill into your palm, its barbed tip pricking your lifeline. Stroke it backward, she urges. The feather arches like a cat, then vomits black water onto your sandals. Lovely. Workers chortle. They've seen this rookie move before. 1 tosses you a reed basket. "Harvest 2 dozen before the blue ripple dies," he says, gesturing to distant lightning. You plunge your arm into the lake, fingertips brushing feather shafts, colder than murderers' hands. Each tug reveals a straightened spine, then a plume coiling tight as a hangman's noose. The larva slips from your pocket, sinking with a resentful glug. Fishes dart past, their scales flashing glyphs you almost recognize. Workers hum in approval. They've seen worse losses today. Divers ford deeper, their bodies swallowed by whirlpools that burp up jade beads. A feather drifts by, sporting what looks like a human molar lashed to its shaft. Quirky ritual. Lake Plumes allegedly bind better with tooth anchors from the drowned. You pocket it as a souvenir. The priestess arches a brow she knows. Everyone steals teeth here once. Rain intensifies. Your basket becomes a leaden weight sloshing with phantom tides. Workers lithely arrange plumes into spiral patterns, cursing when droplets distort their art. Thunder cracks. The priestess howls a command. Everyone slaps wet feathers onto their foreheads. Yours slithers down your nose, plastering itself over your left eye. Practical and deeply undignified. Lightning forks. Suddenly, the lake glows from below. Emperor Ahuitzottl's submerged tomb flickers into view, feathered cloak, undulating like a jellyfish obscenity. Your lungs burn, realizing you've forgotten to breathe. Workers bow low, their forehead plumes dripping reverence onto soggy sand. Historians would kill for this view if they didn't drown first. Dawn bleeds through storm clouds, workers boil, plumes in clay pots, stoked with cursed wood. Steam coalesces into screeching macaw shapes, their beaks snapping at your earlobes. The priestess lobs a dead fish into the mist. Silence falls. Breakfast. She winks, scaling the creature with fingernails sharpened on obsidian whetstones. Your basket's plumes now pulse, each twitch synced to your carotid artery. Workers weave them into a cloak while humming nursery rhymes about melting glaciers. One pauses, plucking a gray strand from your hair. "Lake's marked you," she murmurs. The feather squirms, then etches a tiny teardrop into your thumbprint. Storm's end reveals the horror. All harvested plumes now mimic your hair's cowlicks. The priestess shrugs. Happens if you think too loud underwater. She hands you a honeycomb. Eat this, unless you want the lake dreaming through you tonight. The comb writhes, filled with translucent grubs. Betrayed, the amber larva headbutts your shin. You flee to higher ground, trailing feathers that wilt into ash under the sun's glare. Workers wave, their teeth glinting like knives, skinned from lightning. The lake exhales behind you, whispering of kings who still cough up silt and old prayers. Your stolen molar feather hums, a sound like a widow rocking in an empty canoe. The stolen molar feather vibrates against your ribs as guards haul you into a windowless chamber, walls crusted with salt and failed ambition. Apprentices huddle around obsidian bowls, their fingers fluttering like moths trapped in honey. True story. Aztec knot keepers used twisted cords to track celestial events. Though these kids look more like hostages to a spider's embroidery project. A master slams a blindfold over your eyes, its fibers reeking of pickled newt. Feathers slap into your palms, each quill barbed enough to punish twitchy hands. 37 knots, hisses a voice that's definitely enjoying this. Count by the memory of your fingertips, or lose them. You fumble the first strand, its texture mimicking a sun-baked lizard's tail. Someone snickers. The room smells of adolescent sweat and crushed marigold, a combo that haunts your sinuses. Blindness sharpens the ears. Someone's teeth chatter, another apprentice sucking air through a deviated septum. Thread hisses through feathers, a sound like snakes disapproving of your life choices. You tie a knot too tight, the quill snaps and stabs your thumb. Warmth trickles into your palm. Historians still argue whether this trial tested dexterity or just supplied blood for dye vats. 29. You lie, immediately regretting it. The master's breath frosts your neck. He knows everyone cheats at 29. A feather drifts past, its veins brushing your lips. You taste burnt sugar and deception. Quirky detail, failure's coral fingers allegedly make primo seasoning for noble stews. You double knot the next 3, muscle memory from friendship bracelets gone wrong. Sudden silence. No more clicks, no more suppressed giggles. Your last knot wobbles, threatening to unravel like a drunk's promise. The blindfold yanks off, light sears your retinas. The master holds your bundle to a torch, smoke coils into numerals. 36. He tusks, reaching for his bone chisel. Panicking, you spit on the final knot, saliva crystallizing at midair. Eyes widen. The master hesitates, then barks laughter sharp enough to slice dignity. Crafty eel, he concedes, tossing you a jade bead etched with leering monkeys. Apprentices groan, their own bundles smoldering in disgrace. One boy's pinky already petrifies, joints crackling into porous coral branches. You pocket the bead, ignoring how it pulses like a smuggled heartbeat. Remember, the master growls, dangling a failed apprentice's skeletal hand as a necklace. Each knot is a moon, each moon a step toward eclipsing your mediocrity. The coral-fingered boy whimpers his fate, now a seasoning jar's problem. You glance at your own digits, still flesh for now. The molar feather hums a jaunty tune against your ribs. Allies help. Outside, dusk gnaws at the training yard. A girl offers you fermented cactus juice in a gourd scabbed with mold. They'll test you again during the solstice shadow, she whispers. Her left hand's ring finger is jade and twitching. You decline the drink. She shrugs and chugs it, mold and all. Stepping into moonlight, you count 37 stars through the smoke holes. The bead in your pocket grows teeth, metaphorically, probably. Tomorrow brings worse trials, hell. Tonight might too. But for now, you flex unpetrified fingers and untangle a feather caught in your hair. It smells of panic and adolescent marigold, and something like second chances. Rain begins, each drop hissing where it hits coral fingers littering the courtyard. You walk faster, not because you're scared, obviously, just eager to practice knots. 37 times, in the dark, with your eyes open this time. The rain's rhythmic hiss fades as you duck into a vault smelling of beeswax and dead lilies, storage for nobles who have outlived their own portraits. Moonlight slants through ceiling slits, illuminating cloaks draped over obsidian mannequins. Their owl-down collars glow bone-white, each thread spun from birds raised on temple rooftops. True story, Aztec emperors were buried in feather garments, said to house their tonally, those spark of life forces. You brush a sleeve, cold breath floods your ears, whispering maple syrup-thick words. I conquered Tenochtitlan. A guard's sandal scrapes stone outside. You press against a mannequin, its cloak prickling your neck like winter static. The down shifts, forming a face in the fabric. Historians still argue whether these cloaks bind ancestral spirits or just hoard echoes of royal ego trips. The guard mutters about jaguar-piss beer and passes, his torchlight rippling across a cloak that mirrors your own panicked expression. You exhale, mistake. The cloak inhales, threads suctioning to your cheek. A voice slurry with centuries slurs. Child, peel back the sky for me, your fingers numb. Every woven hourglass spills phantom sand down your spine. Quirky tidbit, court poets claimed wearing the cloaks maddeningly prolongs hiccups, but only during lunar eclipses. The face in the fabric bulges, a nose breaking the weave's surface. You jerk free, leaving skin cells that sizzle into blue smoke. The mannequin's obsidian knees crack, leaning toward you. Moon cloaks hate the living, can't blame them. You sidestep as it topples, shattering into shards that skitter like roasted crickets. Dust swirls into owl shapes. A cloak slithers off its rack, questing for your ankles. You back into another, its hummingbird feather hem coiling around your wrist. 2 warring whispers now. Sacrifice, 7 lakes, versus burn the sweetbread tax records. You rip free, stitches unraveling with the sound of untuned harps. A mosaic glints underfoot, depicting a king whose name wore out his cloak mid-reign. Naked and furious, he allegedly banned the letter Z empire-wide. The air thickens, liquid moonlight pools around your sandals. Panicking, you grab a jade tongs from a ritual tray, clamping a cloak's hood like it's a feral cat. The fabric screams, not metaphorically. A shrill, tea kettle-adjacent wail that shatters 3 ancient perfume vials. Guards bellow. You're already vaulting a trembling mannequin, its half-formed clay face weeping amber tears. The exit looms blocked by a tapestry of particularly judgmental quail. But wait, there's always a drainage channel. You plunge into an ankle-deep stream glittering with beetle wings. The last thing you see, a moon cloak fraying as it chases you, threads dissolving into vowels that cling to your hair. Outside, dawn pinks the temple steps, Your stolen jade tongs have morphed into a feather duster. Of course, you toss it to a passing slave child. They'll need it more. The cloaks, whispers linger, now gossiping about your limp as you descend toward the frog market. Your wrist itches. Lifting the sleeve reveals embroidered feathers under the skin, prickling whenever a relic dealer lies. Could be worse. Could have been hiccups. The frog market's muddy bustle swallows you whole. Vendors hawking axolotl custard and reed flutes that play themselves. Your wrist's new embroidery prickles nonstop here. Every haggling lie scratching under your skin. A merchant waves a sparrow collar at you, its plucked feathers twitching like insect legs. Straight from Motkuzoma's aviary. He croaks, you know better. Royal songbirds were buried with nectar-amplified eulogies, not sold beside pickled newt eyes. But the collar sings. A tinny warble leaks from its gold wires, the exact pitch of a loom's shuttle. Historians still argue whether these trinkets caught prayers or just eavesdropped on rival nobles. You lean closer. The chirp chisels a memory into your skull. Feather workers plucking live sparrows mid-flight, threading their hollow bones with copper. The merchant's grin exposes teeth filed into feather shapes. Lift your sleeve, wanderer. Your wrist's embroidery hums in harmony with the collar, stitched quills vibrating like plucked guitar strings. He nods. Ah, moon cloak's mark. That'll be problematic. Before you ask why, a passing noble's entourage jostles the stall. The collar flutters onto your wrist, featherless spines burrowing under your skin. The merchant hisses, swatting your arm like it's a mosquito. Too late. Your pulse sinks to the collar's rhythm, a lullaby that isn't yours. Dizziness hits. You stumble into a dye vat, indigo sloshing over sandals. The world tilts. Suddenly you're kneeling in a torchlit courtyard, watching a featherworker's calloused hands. She's weaving sparrow plumes into a child's burial shroud, each stitch punctuated by a chirp. The vision sears itself behind your eyelids. Aztec glyphs scroll across your vision, confirming what scholars verified decades back. Nobles used songbird feathers to carry messages to the underworld. Reality slaps back. You're soaked in dye, the merchant cackling as you drip blue footprints toward the canal. The collar's whispers coil around your neck. 10 steps left. Then ask the corn seller about jade. You resist. Barely. Quirky tidbit. Feather masters claimed certain warblers could mimic the sound of weaving itself. A loom's clatter encoded in their trills. Shadows deepen. Market torches gutter as dusk bleeds into the canals. The collar warms over your jugular, its song souring into a nails-on clay tablet screech. Your stolen embroidery flares, burning away the noise. For now, a child tugs your sleeve, offering a sparrow skull on a string. For protection, she insists. You trade a dried cricket for it. The skull's hollow eyes glow faintly, matching the rhythm of your wrist. Across the plaza, the merchant watches, his feather teeth glinting. You duck into an alley, pressing the skull to your thrumming stitches. It shrieks, a sound felt more than heard. The embroidery unravels, inking sparrow-shaped bruises into your flesh. The collar falls silent. Relief, maybe, but your lungs now ache, with every bird song echoing over the city. Moonrise finds you at the edge of a herb garden, its rosemary bushes shaped like feathered serpents. A cloak maker naps nearby, her basket overflowing, with threads dyed parrot green. The collar twitches, reanimated by lunar light. It leaps onto her basket, weaving itself into the strands. She wakes with a start, fingers flying to check her throat for new scars. None, but her next yawn comes out as a sparrow's twitter. You back away slowly. The market's din fades behind you, replaced by the soft click-click of needlework no human hands could make. As you cross a footbridge, water reflects the truth, tiny feather barbs sprouting around your ears. They tremble in time with distant looms, a sympathetic magic even your prickling wrist can't decode. Your hiccups start at midnight, coincidentally or not, the exact moment the moon dips into eclipse. You clutch the bridge's stone railing, hiccups shaking feather barbs loose from behind your ears. Each spasm sends a tiny plume spiraling into the canal, where it skims southward against the current. Across the water, a cloaked figure points at your face. New moon's hiccups, eh? Her laugh smells of fermented pineapples, a scent you last encountered in a hammock-shaped jail cell. Better than the crowing. Last poor fool couldn't attend funerals for weeks. The eclipse gnaws the moon's edge, a shadow bite triggering every street torch to burn blue. Your barbs stiffen, needling your neck toward the darkened southern horizon. Historians verified this much. Aztec kings wore Quetzal plumes during solstices, their sacred green rippling like captured rainforests. But none wrote about the damned feathers tugging. Your knees buckle, dragged southward, until you're crab walking through a chilly pepper stall. The vendor sighs, used to this. 10 dried grasshoppers if you break more than 3 pods. Your hand slaps a clay urn to stop the slide. The lid's relief carving depicts Toltec astrologers, their feathered staffs bent toward the same invisible pull. Mainstream academia calls this mere symbolism. You're now a living counterargument. The cloaked woman materializes beside you, crunching a stolen pepper. They miss their trees. She flicks a barb on your earlobe. It hums like a plucked vine. Quetzal feathers hate stone cities, pull harder during eclipses, messes with their internal maps. Her breath reveals parrot green teeth, the telltale stain of cloak dyers who chew pigment herbs. Fix it, you gasp, hiccuping a feather onto her sandal. She shrugs, tossing you a walnut shell filled with sticky paste. Rub this where they sprouted. Burns worse than a jaguar's apology, but quiets the compass itch. Scholars still debate whether Quetzal Plumes guided navigation or just mirrored priests' star charts. You're daubing the gunk on when she adds, avoid sneezing. Last guy blew his nose into a cactus god. The paste sears melted regrets and honey, maybe. Your barbs wilt, then regrow as velvety down. The southern pull fades to a nudge across the canal. Noblemen's cloaks billow, their Quetzal trim straining at gold thread stitches. One robe tears free green plumes, arrow toward the jungle. The nobles curse, chasing their runaway regalia through a tortilla vendor's cart. Happens every 30 moons, the woman says, licking chilly dust off her wrist. Emperors paid feather binders in cocoa beans, which explains the shoddy stitching. Quirky tidbit, vintage cloaks in museums sometimes twitch southward, dismissed as drafty hauls by staff. The paste hardens crumbling off with your dead skin. Underneath, new barbs, this time iridescent. They resonate with every bat swooping overhead. The woman frowns. Macaw blend. My bad. She retreats into a tapestry hung between 2 tamarind trees, leaving you mid-bridge with feathers that now vibrate during bat squeaks. 3 drunk scribes mistake you for a deity offering fermented cactus juice to the shivering sky twin. You decline, then reconsider. The drink tastes like charcoal and overconfidence. Your feathers buzz a drinking song. By dawn, you're haggling with a fisherman for his least hole-filled net. The barbs have hatched silvery threads, weaving a headscarf that keeps batting left. It's fighting the net's weave, the fisherman notes. He's seen weirder last month. A squid inked someone's future onto a tortoise shell. Sudden weightlessness. Your feet lift an inch off the dock. The scarf flutters southward, dragging you palms, first over a startled iguana. The fisherman shrugs, adds excitement. You crash land into a dye market's indigo vat again. Submerged, you spot feather fragments swirling into shapes. Quetzal wings, coral snakes, a glyph for idiocy. A dyer hauls you out, clucking. Tourists. She wrings your scarf, which twists into a miniature hammock, holding 3 surprised beetles. Your barbs mold, replaced by stubs of goose down. Safe, probably. Boring, definitely. As you slosh toward the city gates, avoiding cloaked pedestrians, a stray barb detaches. It drifts south, over misted pyramids. For a breath, you crave the jungle's green shadow. Then you sneeze, launching the feather into a passing noble's hairdo. His scalp tattoos start emitting panicked cricket chirps. You flee, smearing the last of the paste behind your ears. The world dims, silent, except for your heartbeat. A trader whispers as you pass. He's got the quiet sickness. Won't last a week. You almost ask why, but your new feathers prefer ignorance. The paste's last gritty smear still itches your earlobes, until indigo-scented smoke hooks your nostrils southward. You follow like a sleepwalker dodging alebrije vendors, straight into a workshop's humid belly. Vats bubble, each the size of a sacrificed drum, their surfaces iridescent as beetle wings. Workers snore on woven mats, eyelids fluttering. One mumbles, not the teal nightmares again cochineal dye, was the Aztec Empire's crimson gold, crushed from insects bred on prickly pear farms. But nobody mentions the Brew's voices. You lean over a vat, and the scarlet surface puckers into lips. Warrior's blood or bride's blush. It gurgles. Your feather stubs bristle, sniffing the steam like hounds. A snoring teen kicks his water flask. It shatters against a jade-eyed jaguar statue. Liquid pools around his mat, instantly staining his toes imperial purple. He sleeps through it. Historians still argue whether master dyers used dream states to perfect hues, or just napped off mushroom wine. Midnight blue dye hisses as you pass, twisting into shadowy fingers that pluck at your sleeve. You recoil, bumping into a wall hung with dried dream catchers. Except these aren't for nightmares. They're woven from sleepers' hair, each strand tagged with clay beads. Shift rotation. Yawns a woman stirring a vat with her braid. Blue shifts dream of storms. Red shifts dream of embers. Keeps the dyes from getting moody. Quirky tidbit. Modern Mexico City subway tunnels occasionally leak rainbow puddles. Construction crews swear they're vintage Aztec dyes seeping upward. You're squinting at a vat's shimmering black when a worker jolts awake, screaming about mud people gnawing the sun. Colleagues drag her to a purification fountain, while 3 apprentices upend her vat into apology flames. The fire spits turquoise sparks. Rule 1, grunts the braid stirrer, eyeing your feather stubs. If you scream, your batch is cursed. Rule 2, if you snore in B-flat, the dye turns to adder venom. She tests a droplet on her tongue, spits ruby phlegm. This batch dreams of wedding night jitters. Needs more crushed lappies. Your feather stubs twitch toward a smaller vat, its surface mirror still. Peering in, you see a 2-headed jaguar napping, historically documented in Montezuma's menagerie. Your face, but with owl pupils, a glyph that means dip your finger, unless you're chicken you dip. The liquid feels like frozen honey, until it doesn't. Your fingertip emerges coated in living gold, wriggling, segmented, hungry. The braid stirrer slaps your hand. Idiot. That's the shift worker's soup vat. The gold flees your skin, scurrying into floor cracks like liquid jewelry. Workers cluck as you try apologizing. No refunds for lost parasites, says one, fluffing his duck-down pillow. But hey, want a free nap trial? You decline, then cave, when he offers earplugs stuffed with vanilla orchid pollen. Sleep punches you faster than a drunk ball player. Your dream, floating in a vat of liquid obsidian, while hummingbirds stitch your eyelids with dawn-colored thread. A voice booms. Is this hatchback eco-friendly or what? You snap awake, disoriented, but weirdly refreshed. The braid stirrer inspects your pupils. Lavender with performance anxiety. Toss some sapphire dust in vat 7. Dawn leaks through reed curtains as workers rinse their eyes with rosewater. 2 teens compare dream notes by a vat of bubbling ochre. Mine had crocodiles playing flutes. Lucky mine just had Aunt Chantico criticizing my mortar technique. A 3rd worker interrupts. You guys get plots. Mine's just a 7-hour lecture on sedimentary layers. Your feather stubs molt during the commotion, replaced by downy filaments that taste like forgotten lunch meat when you lick them. Don't ask. The braid stirrer hands you a clay token stamped with a snoring otter. For the vat watching shift, keep the coals hot and don't let the dyes flirt with strangers. You're tending a vat of emerald sludge when the fumes hit, sweet and parasitic. Your vision blurs, feathers puffing into chlorophyll clouds. The sludge morphs into a sassy parrot. What's greener? It squawks. My feathers, or your life choices. You're weighing the answer when the real world yanks you back via a bucket of scorpion soup dumped over your head. Fume fever, snorts the culprit, a girl barely taller than the vat. Rub mud on your elbows, or you'll hallucinate for weeks. She's right, probably. Your left elbow already thinks it's a conch shell. By moonrise, you're semi-competent, skimming dye skins off vats without causing mutinies. The workers sing lullabies to stabilize the hues off-key and lovely. Every hour, someone tests a batch on linen strips. The braid stirrer frowns at your salmon pink result. Too cheerful. This shade's meant for orphanages, not temple banners. She dunks the fabric in a penalty vat. It emerges the gray of London traffic. You're dozing off when the scream comes, a new worker's nightmare shattering the graveyard shift. His vat of sunflower yellow erupts, birthing a swarm of moth-winged things. The braid stirrer curses, lobs a sack of salt. Why do we keep hiring poets? The moths disintegrate into pollen that makes everyone's teeth chatter. You spit out an incisor-shaped ice cube just as the east wall collapses. Moonlight floods the workshop, revealing a hidden vat behind the bricks. Its surface, perfect Quetzal green. Workers genuflect, except the braid stirrer. That's the king's personal badge, stirred once per solar eclipse by someone with licorice breath. She eyes your vanilla-stuffed ears, not it. The Quetzal vat whispers your name, or maybe yogurt. Hard to tell. You lean closer and see reflections of feather-sorted dreams, towers built from hummingbird bones, obsidian combs playing marital ballads, a cloak that weeps saltwater during storms. Then your allergy to sanctity kicks in a sneeze so violent it flips the Quetzal vat's lid. Workers tackle you before the sacred dye spills, but not before one drop splashes your ankle. It sears through your sandal, branding a hummingbird-shaped scar that'll later get you 17% off at taco stands. Congratulations, growls the braid stirrer, confiscating your otter token. You've graduated from nap-time tester to she sniffs your hummingbird brand. Jailhouse dyer. Report to the drunk tank at dawn. As guards drag you out, the dreamcatchers sway, casting spider-shaped shadows that wave bye-bye. Your new scar itches, singing a lullaby about mangoes and regret. You hum along because, frankly, what's one more awful decision at this point? Your hummingbird scar throbs in tempo with the jailhouse, looms their shuttles clacking like angry beaks. Guards dump you beside a vat of punishment purple reeking of fermented snails and regret. The dyer across from you grins toothlessly. Welcome to the revolting wing. Dip only the left-handed feathers, unless you fancy wearing your guts as a belt. Farmers first noticed the hawk unrest during the corn-storing moon. Warriors' cloaks, usually stiff with proud plumes, began molting mid-parade. Historians cite drought-stressed raptors abandoning nests, but your cellmate whispers rot-gut wisdom. Feathers remember. Sew too many conquests into one garment, the wings want vengeance. A guard slams a feather basket onto your lap, each plume still bloody at the quill. Sort am hungry, he growls. Emperor's new piece, envoy needs a cloak that doesn't provoke. You blink, one jet-black hawk feather twists in your grip, its tip sharpening into a claw. Hawks held sacred status in Aztec military orders, their feathers marking elite jaguar warriors. But the rebellion year's cloaks devolved. You split a damaged barb and recoil as black ooze drips onto your sandal. It hisses, etching a tiny axe glyph into the leather. Quirky tidbit. Excavations near Texcoco revealed talon marks, gouged 6 feet up palace walls, paired with beetle husks. Your cellmate nods at the feather in your hand. Careful, that one's a biter. Too late, the shaft writhes, sprouting milky eyes along its spine. You drop it into the vat. Purple dye screams. Workers across the chamber collapse mid-stitch, their half-finished cloaks constricting like angry pythons. Guards yell orders or prayers. A rogue garment slithers your way, hawk feathers now interlocking into scales. You lob the snail vat. Acid dye melts fabric into a stinking pulp, releasing a wail that cracks 3 ceiling tiles. Historians still argue whether the hawk uprising stemmed from ecological stress or a dye master's cursed batch. Your evidence, the liquid now bubbling from the punishment vat. It coughs up talon fragments and something glimmering. You fish out a soldier's gold earring, etched with the date the rebellion began. Told ya, says your cellmate, plucking the earring. Cloaks 812 generals that year, not chewed erased. Poof, just helmets left, filled with soggy feathers. She drops the jewelry into her soup. Credit where due best damn mutiny in Mesoamerica. Moonlight fractures through barred windows as the looms frenzy. Hawk plumes levitate, quills vibrating like bowstrings. A cloak slams against your chest, whispering Nahuatl. You catch 2 words, blood and avocado. The cellmate cackles. It likes you. Give it a nickname or it'll steal your kidneys. Dawn reveals the workshop in shambles, smashed vats, melted shears, a distinct lack of guards. Only the punishment purple remains, thick and glossy as a fresh bruise. You dip a test swatch. The fabric hardens into armor, then crumbles. Your cellmate snorts. Should used the 3-toed hawk feathers. Everyone knows they're less opinionated. You're picking feathers from your hair when the scream starts a distant avian shriek. The walls sweat crimson resin. Cellmate yawns. That's the West Guard Tower. Hawks always eat the tender bits first. She offers you a bet. If the sun rises turquoise, the rebellion's over. It doesn't. Instead, the dye vats erupt, flooding the chamber with liquid that reeks of wet musk and copper. You climb onto a loom, watching hawk-shaped ripples circle below. Cellmate waves from her perch on a rafter. Look alive, rookie. Vat's got nurture aspirations. The sludge births a featherless hawk, all sinew and teeth. It pecks at your ankle scar. Hummingbird versus hawk, your skin becomes their battleground. Cellmate tosses you a bone needle. Aim for its third nostril. You miss, puncturing a hanging dye bladder instead. Ochre rain soaks the beast. It convulses, then bursts into canary yellow songbirds. Workers creep back at noon bearing brooms and fresh trauma. Guards chain you to a restored vat, now labeled harsh language only. Cellmates sorting feathers again, humming. One plume floats from her basket, lands in your lap. It's downy soft until it whispers prophecies about turkeys. Rule 47, says a guard, tightening your shackles. No poultry-based divination before lunch. You stare at the rebellious feather, now innocuous. Somewhere, cloaks are plotting. Somewhere, a hawk sharpens its talons on palace marble. And somewhere, someone's brewing a vat of apology gold that'll fail spectacularly by tea time. The turkey feather prophecy itches against your thigh, a soft keening trapped in its barbs. Guards snort when your shackles start rattling in tempo until they recognize the rhythm. Shut that folk crap off, growls one, but his boot taps against the beat. Even rebellion can't kill a good nursery rhyme. Your fingernail catches on the feather's edge. It unspools a thread thin as spider silk, glowing faintly turquoise. Mexica lullabies, often encoded crop cycles, musical mnemonics for planting seasons. This one's different. The notes taste like burnt honey, sweetness cut with smoke. Voices rise from the twisting thread. Sleep, little thief of skies. Steal no feathers from the moon's own eyes. Else the ground shall hatch and eat your shadow's batch. Cellmate kicks your shin. Quit humming. That's how they get you. Too late. Your eyelids sag, stone heavy. The workshop bleeds into swirling indigo. Something flutters against your ribs, not your heartbeat. Tiny beaks probe between bones, jeweled hummingbirds weaving nests from your breath. Historians still debate whether ceremonial lullabies were sleep aids or sonic shackles. You're voting option 3, biological warfare. The dream birds keep tangling their claws in your lungs. One pecks at a floating memory, your first stolen feather. Their nest pulses, showing cloaked figures singing infants to sleep with battle chants. Quirky tidbit. Codices mention a turkey feather census, taken every 52 years, each plume dipped in sacrificial blood. In your delirium, arithmetic fangs sink into the thought. 52 times 52, minus the claw tax, carry the jaguar, the hummingbird screech. Math is forbidden here. A chick hatches from your left ventricle, buttons its beak around a glowing string. Pull it, and the nest unravels, spilling you into a memory that isn't yours. A weaver's hands wrinkled but steady, sewing owl down into a prince's burial cloak. Her voice cracks. Thread the dark, stitch the gloom, wrap him tight in his mother's womb, till stars forget his face, unspool his name to empty space. You wake choking on feathers, cellmates holding your nose shut, a half-plucked turkey quill in her teeth. Breathe through your mouth, the lullaby's nesting. She's right. Your ribs ache with phantom wings. The prophecy feather lies spent its barbs, now forming a tiny hammock for a beetle husk. Guards drag in a new prisoner, his cloak sewn shut at the sleeves. Found him babbling by the armory, they sneer. Says his uniform's whispering recipes. The man moans about chorizo spices and ground jade. Cellmate winks, told ya turkey divination's gateway magic. Moonrise brings itchier developments. The hummingbirds in your chest molt, leaving bronze pin feathers under your fingernails. Each pluck reveals a glyph. You recognize 2 Allen for movement and Quetzal for vulture. Cellmate guffaws. Congrats. Your lungs are now a Mistec parking lot. A scream slices the night, the turkey feather prophet from Block 6 convulsing. His skin bubbles with feather-shaped welts, erupting into squawking down. Guards slip in the feather mud, swearing as their helmets sprout combs. Cellmate lobs you a stolen tortilla. Eat, tomorrow's breakfast is gonna be eggy. You nibble crust and glyphs. The hummer nest in your ribs shifts, unfurling a map drawn in vein blue threads. It leads to your sternum, where a single Quetzal feather pulses. Touch it, and the lullaby resumes, slurred now, drunk on your pulse. Hush, little warrior. Don't say a word, mommy's buying you a mockingbird. If that mockingbird won't sing, mommy's buying you a... The verse snaps, replaced by gurgling. Cellmate's turkey quill levitates, stabbing the air where your shadow clings. A hiss answers. The map in your chest ignites, burning directions into bone. 52 steps to the armory, 52 heartbeats to forget them. Dawn finds you sweaty and bilingual. The hummingbirds chirp Nahuatl nursery rhymes whenever you exhale. Guards confiscate your left sandal, sock-adjacent contraband, but miss the glyphs tattooing your soul. Cellmate inspects your foot. Looks like a shopping list. 2 tamales, a jade blade, and 1 slightly used volcano god. You're reciting lullabies to a broom when the miracle happens. Its straw bristles shiver, snapping into perfect feather replicas. Even the guards freeze awed. Cellmate coughs. Anyone else's broom writing poetry. Her spells free tacos in elegant Zapotec script. The warden storms in cloak bristling with interrogation spikes. Which idiot taught the cleaning supplies philosophy? Your hummingbirds answer with a poop glyph on your collarbone. Cellmate points to the turkey. It's now quoting Sun Tzu in yolk-stained verses. Chaos erupts, brooms duel in epic couplets. Mop heads croon funeral dirges. Dust motes swirl into glyph-shaped storms. You pocket a feather duster's quill, still warm with stolen rhymes. The lullaby swells until the riot becomes a twisted choir. Sleep, little jailer. Your mind's a lake, melt your keys for our queen to take. Dream of feathers, dream of wine. Your teeth shall dance the conga line. Reality snaps back at sunset. Guards revoke broom privileges, and your hummingbirds finally sleep. Cellmates braiding interrogation spikes into hairpins. Cheer up, only 7 years till the next turkey census. You flick a glyph at her. It smells like roasted regrets and tastes like tomorrow's breakfast. Moonlight licks the obsidian mirror beneath your sandals, its surface colder than a widow's wedding ring. Masters float feathers overhead, counting whispers instead of numbers. A Quetzal plume drifts left, then jerks right, as if tugged by invisible fingers. Ghost wins, mutters the tally keeper, his breath fogging the stone. You watch his lips move, 32, 59, 12. None of it adds up. Every ruler demanded a feather census. Aztec priests used black glass like this for scrying. Modern experts tried replicating it with drones, got a face full of pigeon instead. Your cellmate snorts. Should have asked the ceiling parrots. They're unionized. A crow feather spirals into your palm, untethered by the mirror's pull. Its barbs taste like forest mud and burnt tortillas. Historians still argue whether these counts tracked tribute or just entertained bureaucrats with flight patterns. You pocket the feather. Let them debate your collections. 23 orphans richer tonight. The mirror fogs suddenly, your reflection replaced by swaying reeds. A voice rasps through centuries of silt. True numbers live between breaths. Cellmate elbows you. Quit hogging the haunted TV. She's right. The vision's fraying, showing feather merchants trading lies for cocoa beans. Dawn cracks open the sky. Masters scoop feathers into reed boxes, ignoring 3 plumes stuck midair. Leave them for the shadow accountants, shrugs a guard. His helmet's turkey crest bobs approvingly. You swear it winks. Your stolen crow feather twitches after lights out, sketching cargo lists on the cell wall. 800 hummingbird plumes for the emperor's hat. 5 vulture quills for the death singers. 1 threadbare chicken feather marked emergency confetti. Cellmate pokes the chicken glyph. It clucks. Tequila breath guards drag you to the mirror at midnight. Count these. They slur, dumping a sack of molted duck down. Each fluff ball hums lullabies. You blink, suddenly 17 again stealing temple offerings with trembling hands. The memory dissolves when duck fluff bursts into dandelion seeds. 3 feathers hover defiantly over the mirror, their shadows spelling teocalli in Nahuatl glyphs. Vulture math, growls the tally keeper. He's sweating cocoa-scented fear. Cellmate scribbles the word on her arm. It migrates to her collarbone, humming like a trapped bee. By 3rd watch, the mirror sweats quicksilver. You press a palm to its surface, stickier than remorse. A feather brushes your wrist, then dissolves into scorpion legs. Masters would call it an omen. You call it Monday. The guard's turkey crest detaches at dawn, waddling toward the mirror with purpose. It pecks the obsidian, releasing a sigh that unravels your shoelaces. Cellmate whoops. Promotion. Now you're officially soulless. The bird squawks a perfect middle sea moonless nights warp the senses. Feathers multiply in the dark, birthing duplicates that argue in high-pitched squeaks. They're like bureaucratic gremlins, you mutter, separating two identical jay plumes. One whispers your mother's laugh. The other hums your arrest warrant. A master catches you pocketing a disputed feather. His scowl could curdle milk. You're disrupting the balance. Balance, sh malance. The thing smells like rain-soaked pine. Later, it weeps sticky sap onto your ration tortilla. Cellmate licks it clean. Tastes like tax evasion. Midday sun reveals the truth. Feather counts shimmer above the mirror, etched in spider silk, only drunkards see. You squint. 99, 99, 99, the numbers fray, as guards spill lunch chili on the glass. Perfection's overrated anyway. The phantom feathers sing at dusk, three-part harmony with your hummingbird snores. Masters argue over ledgers, unaware their inkwells hatch tadpoles. You name one Fernando. He votes for chaos with every wriggle. Cellmate's arm glyphs now glow during head counts. Guards confiscate her as a loitering lantern. She winks during roll call, her skin buzzing Morse code promises. You decode two words, soap escape. The third evaporates, probably maybe. By the dry season's peak, the mirror coughs up its secrets. You glimpse feather traders laughing, their cloaks stitched with faces you've dreamt. One winks, a hummingbird nesting in his beard. The vision fades, leaving your pockets full of molted beard hairs. Fernando, the tadpole, graduates to froghood, croaking feather counts in a voice like rusty hinges. Even the guards pause, suspended between math and magic. Cellmate applauds. Finally, a politician worth gutting. The last census ends with a thunderclap. Masters lock the mirror, trapping 3 feathers in perpetual freefall. They'll count themselves eventually, shrugs the tally keeper. His sandals leave wingprints in the dust. You exhale, sending a glyph-laden breath toward the mirror. It fogs, revealing a single word, tomorrow. Cellmate hoots. Funny, I was thinking yesterday. Let's split the difference and steal lunch. Fernando belches a feather. It tastes like hope or indigestion. The jury's still out. The loom smells of copal incense, and impending regrets you're threading crimson macaw feathers through your bridal veil. Every stitch mirrors the death shroud folded beneath your bed. That's the kicker, isn't it? Aztec noblewomen wove their wedding cloaks with funeral feathers, basically knitting their matrimonial exit strategy. Your chaperone clicks her tongue, a sound like cracking sunflower seeds. Tighter loops, girl. Loose threads mean loose morals. Her breath reeks of the cocoa ointment priests smear on divorce petitions. You roll your eyes. Try romancing a stranger prince when your hemlines dictated by your future corpse. The ceremonial loom groans. Its cedar frame holds a desiccated lizard tail for luck. Fresh ones squirm too much. Historians found similar talismans in Tenochtitlan ruins, debated whether they were fertility charms or just snacks. You're betting on snacks. Moonlight glints off the obsidian comb in your hair. 12 brides work nearby, their laughter sharp enough to slice corn husks. One's unraveling her 5th attempt. Third husband demanded sky blue orioles. They molt in autumn. The cheap bastard. Your fingers brush the death shroud's feathers. They're colder than the wedding chamber's stone floor. Worse, they hum. Local legend claims cloaks sing when widows near their end. Yours warbles la cucaracha. Death's got jokes. Midnight brings the first test. Priestesses drape your almost finished cloak. Over a clay urn, pour water through the weave. 5 droplets seep through. You get 5 years of marriage. The dripping sounds suspiciously like a countdown. Dawn reveals your groom's portrait, feather mosaic eyes following you like a particularly judgy hawk. His nose alone took 17 emerald Quetzal plumes. You hope he's less prickly in person. Unlikely. Wedding day arrives in a blur of chilly smoke and dysentery jokes. Your cloak weighs 92 feathers, each plucked from birds fed your future husband's poetry. They taste better roasted. A drunk aunt whispers the real secret. Some brides swapped funeral plumes for common duck down. Live fast, die never, she hiccups before face-planting in the pozzle. The prince's hands smell like fermented agave and poor choices. You're 90% sure he's allergic to your cloak's hummingbird underlayer. His sneezes scatter ceremonial maze across the temple. Guests cheer. This marriage is already livelier than his last 3. Nightfall unveils the real chore. Widows unravel 1 feather thread nightly, measuring their remaining lifespan by the pile. Your mother-in-law's cloak resembles a plucked turkey. She's been at it since the Spanish flu. Or maybe the Spanish invasion. Time's foggy here. Week 3's revelation. Your husband snores in perfect Nahuatl hexameter. You've started transcribing it. Could be battle poetry or grocery lists. Scholars still argue whether these woven countdowns were protective magic or morbid calendars. You're leaning toward calendar. His toenail clippings hit the floor. Plink, plink, plink. Coincidence. The death shroud develops opinions. Its feathers curl toward certain servants, ones who misplace your jade hairpins. You catch it flicking a maid's ear during siesta. Passive-aggressive afterlife. Magic beats prenups any day. Rainy season warps the loom. Humidity plumps the funeral feathers. Your cloak now resembles an angry peacock. The prince frowns. Is it supposed to hiss? You shrug. You wanted traditional. Year 5 arrives soaked in pulque and regret. The cloak's threads fray faster now. You're unraveling, outpacing the weave. That water test wasn't messing around. You find your mother-in-law sharpening a sacrificial knife. Her grin's all tombstone. Good news, dear, divorce rates are down. Last thread snaps at midnight. The cloak disintegrates, leaving feather dust that tickles your throat like forgotten laughter. Your shroud awaits, pre-worn, pre-stained, pre-sorted. Faint music rises from its folds. Not La Cucaracha this time, maybe Despacito. Dawn finds your bed empty, save for one cobalt feather curling toward the window. Guards will tell the prince you ascended. Cellmate, if she's listening, will know your 2 towns over blistered hands, spinning a new cloak from stolen crane plumes. Let historians debate symbolism. You've got a second act to stitch. Moonlight slicks the cobblestones as you kneel in a stolen attic, blistered fingers sorting moth wings by iridescence. That's the trick, see? Luna moths for collars, lesser sphinx moths for hem linings. Pre-Columbian texts describe nobles wearing such cloaks to become shadows within shadows. You're betting it's less poetic when your left butt cheek rips mid-espionage. The wings crumble like communion wafers. You breathe through linen to avoid inhaling decades of moth piss. Local lore claims Cortés. Scribes wrote home about cloaks that melted like sugar in rain. Historians still argue whether they witnessed disintegration or just bad Spanish cloaks in monsoon season. Your mortar glows faintly. Crushed firefly abdomens mixed with bat saliva, the binder mentioned in that moldy codex, smells like a teenager's gym bag. Stir counterclockwise during dog barks, the instructions said. Your 3 alley howl rotations in doubting your life choices. One wing adheres to the fabric, its scales catching moonlight like fractured glass. Your pulse thrums. This could work. The codex warned about 12 heartbeats per stitch. Try counting with your landlady snoring through the floorboards. Dawn leaks through cracked shutters. You've cobbled a collar that shimmers if you squint. The real test, a candle flame held behind it, casts no shadow, just a faint blur like breath on a mirror. Your landlady's rooster crows. Time to stash the evidence. Night 2 brings reinforcements. 67 moths kamikaze into your honey-smeared lantern. Easy win. Until a winged infantryman dive bombs your cocoa. Subtle, you mutter, fishing him out with an obsidian tweezers. Scream when his antennae twitch. Midnight experimentation gets weird. Certain wing patterns fluoresce under urine, great for covert signaling. The 1505 Florentine Codex describes Aztec spies using similar tricks. You're the genius testing it with yesterday's pulque. Science. Disaster strikes at hour 3. The cloak's left sleeve delaminates, scattering scales like malignant glitter. Each step stirs a tiny prismatic tornado. Low profile isn't happening. You'll need turtle wax, or holy water, or a flamethrower. A knock freezes your blood. Landlady Pike rasps through the door, you burning papal bulls up there. You cough. Incense. For piety. Her snort suggests she's on to your heretical craft. Throw a moth-winged distraction pebble out the window. It crumbles mid-arc. The real nightmare. Static electricity. Your cloak's hem levitates toward every wool blanket, dragging you sideways like a tipsy ghost. Codex never mentioned this. You'll add avoid sheep enclosures to the care instructions. Week 3's breakthrough. A glove lined with moth-winged fingertips. They lift locks without sound. You test it on Pike's Spice Cabinet, free cinnamon. Also, guilt. Leave a jade bead as apology. It's the principle. Moisture ruins everything. A drizzle turns your masterpiece into papier-mâché mush. Should have listened about the turtle wax. You're peeling moth gunk off your thighs when Pike appears. Saw the garrisons hunting a fabric thief. Her gaze flicks to your sticky workstation. Dumb hobby. You're debating exit strategies when a scale drifts onto Pike's cheek. It sticks, then dissolves. She scratches absently. By dawn, her wrinkles look softer. Coincidence. You stash the cloak in a cedar box. Let future archaeologists argue whether it was beauty treatment or spy gear. Rainy season erases all progress. Your attic reeks of wet moth and regret. That's the kicker, isn't it? Perfection's ephemeral, like moonlight, like trust, like a sobriety pledge after pulque breakfasts. The last wing disintegrates in your palm, a phantom caress of powder. All that remains, parchment musk, clinging to your apron. Pike tosses you a lettuce-wrapped beetle. Eat. Stealing's hungry work. You munch pensively. Maybe spider silks the answer. Dawn finds you sketching designs in cornmeal, quick, erasable, delicious. Your next cloak won't mimic moonlight. It'll outshine it. Assuming the moths cooperate. Assuming Pike doesn't rat you out. Assuming the garrison hasn't noticed their thinning key collection. The cedar box sits empty, save for one iridescent fleck glinting like a liar's promise. You bottle it. Maybe start a perfume line. Ode to failed ambition, notes of parchment, pretension, and poor life choices. Hunger wins. You pocket the beetle wrap, sticky fingers, leaving moth-scale constellations on the doorframe. Historians will call it art. You call it evidence. The garrison calls it probable cause. Time for town, number 3. Sun-baked heels crunch across salt flats. Your shadow evaporates before it can form. Town 3 stinks of desperation and roasted agave. That vulture circling overhead, probably judging your life choices. The first trader's teeth glint blacker than his obsidian scales. Feather maps. He snorts. Modern fools by GPS trackers. His cloak collar bristles with stripped quills, each barb filed sharp as betrayal. True believers gather at the abandoned well station. 3 women in sun-bleached hewables demonstrate. They lick a vulture, Plumes' shaft, and gag in unison. One spits. Bitter. Like donkey bile, her friend shrugs. Better than dying of thirst. Night brings whispered deals. A boy trades you a molted plume for your last lime, his pockets clinking with human teeth. Scrape the quill tip, he advises. Tastes like dead kings, sweat, but points true. Historians still argue whether these feather compasses guided traders or just marked poison springs. Your tongue's still numb from testing one flavor profile. Arsenic with a hint of tamarind. Dawn reveals the trick. Hold the quill to sunlight. Its shadow stretches toward hidden water, unless clouds roll in. You're just a sucker sucking bird bones. The garrison's desert outpost looms, sun-rotted timbers creaking. Inside, a clerk fingers your plume. Third one this week, he yawns. Know what happens if you're lying. His smile suggests scorpion socks. Realization bites at noon. Those secret wells dried up 2 centuries ago. Modern traders rebury canteens overnight, charging refugees to lick feather-guided wild goose chases. Capitalism, baby. You catch a smuggler keying coordinates into a smartwatch. His traditional cloak hides a solar charger. Hybrid approach, he winks. Old gods love backup batteries. The vulture feather taped to his screen flaps mockingly. Moonlight exposes the danger. Licked quills grow sticky, collecting sand until they resemble cacti. Yours now weighs a full pound and points 6 directions simultaneously. Time to bribe the tooth boy for antivenom. Disaster strikes during the escape. Your stolen camel balks at a feather's shadow, spooking into a canyon. You're left trudging past rusted mine shafts, singing show tunes to deter delirium. The oasis turns out to be a lizard spa, warm puddles crawling with translucent geckos. They scratch over your blisters. Surprisingly therapeutic. Take notes for future investment opportunities. Week 2 brings enlightenment. Soak the plumes in mezcal. The ethanol counteracts the alkaloids, now licking tastes like vacation margaritas. And north consistently aligns with that suspiciously convenient rock formation. A nomad clan adopts you temporarily. Their elder spins tailies of feather maps that tracked rain clouds until sky spirits grew jealous. Her granddaughter rolls eyes, texting someone in fluid emojis. Survival tip: vulture quills make decent back scratchers. Also, terrible toothpicks. You're extracting bamboo splinters from your gums when the sandstorm hits. The world becomes orange static, rattling your skull like a forgotten maraca. Burrow under the camel carcass. Its stench rivals your 7th grade gym locker. Count feather barbs until the air clears. Emerging, you spot it. A genuine Notch Trist era canteen half buried in dust. Historians thought all Cortez' lost gear was pillaged. This one's stale water burns going down, which means it's authentic. Dawn's glare reveals the final joke. Your feathers pointing at a dune shaped like a middle finger. Defeated, you snap the shaft. Its hollow core spills jade beads. Pike's stolen stash. The universe cackles. You carve a rude glyph into the canteen. Future scholars will debate whether it's a map or just bad art. Camera wink at the circling vulture. Let archaeologists suffer for once. Sunset finds you hitchhiking with an anthropologist's jeep. She eyes your battered feather. Replica. You smile. Trade secret. Her pockets bulge with notched quills. Welcome to academic piracy. The horizon pulses. 200 miles to the next cluster of suckers. You file the quill's edge against a stone. Makes a decent lice comb. Progress. Cold night air smells of burning tires and maybe hope. Or dysentery. Hard to tell. Either way, tomorrow needs better footwear. Your blistered fingers brush a shriveled feather snagged on a cactus, its once vibrant veins now frayed like burnt newspaper. That's your cue. Find a crossroads where owl shadows swallow streetlights. Easier said than done with Wikipedia tier navigation skills. You're missing the bowl, croaks a vendor peddling knockoff Mayan volleyball gear. She thrusts a chipped clay pot at you, 3rd century chic, with chicoms stuck to the rim. Authentic, her wink suggests otherwise. You trade 3 ibuprofen for it. Capitalism, baby. Whisper 3 generations of the feather's lineage. Easy if it's royal Quetzal plumes. Those Aztec kings tracked lineage tighter than Elon tracks Twitter trolls. But this ratty thing, best guess, Bob, son of Steve, son of a Feather McLovin. Fire reveals truths. The plume curls in the bowl's belly, smelling of singed hair and wreck centers. Historians still argue whether this morning rite was spiritual theater or sneaky ecosystem management. Your eyes water. Could go either way. Night deepens. Owl wings snuff the flames, their talons scratching the bowl's rim. Cool, normal, definitely not cursed. The ashes swirl into a blurred glyph. Looks like a middle finger. Feels personal. A park ranger materializes, his flashlight beam ruining the vibe. Camping permit. You gesture to the smoldering remains. His nose wrinkles. We only allow owl ceremonies on Thursdays. Classic bureaucracy. Offer him the bowl. He flays. Dawn cracks open the sky. Your shadow returns, trailing you like a shameful secret. The crossroads sit abandoned, just a Burger King wrapper spinning in the wind. Progress. Grab a latte extra espresso. Today's agenda. Forget the feather ever existed. Double check the bowl. Its cracks now form a suspiciously accurate metro map. Convenient. A text buzzes. You took my grandma's urn. Oops. Hybrid approach. Return the pot with a free churro coupon. Include a note. Sorry for your loss. Try the cinnamon twists. Rain slicks the streets. The feather's ghost tickles your neck, whispering forgotten Nahuatl verbs. You hum Lizzo to drown it out. Bad move. Now your brain remixes Truth Hurts with human sacrifice chants. Local teens film you for TikTok. Do the possessed dance. One cackles. You oblige, channeling Saturday Night Fever meets exorcism core. Their laughter fades when the bowl shatters. The largest peace spells run in Almakish. Night 2, new bowl, new problems. The replacements from Target, festive pumpkin design. The feather refuses to burn, just sizzles like bacon. A cop eyes your smoke. Barbecuing without a permit. Your defense speech mentions cultural preservation. His taser disagrees. The owl returns perched on the cop car. Poetic justice, or acid reflux from questionable street tacos. The universe remains mum. Final attempt. Craft a bowl from moonlit mud. The feather ignites instantly, casting horned shadows across the intersection. Historians hate this trick. Your ears pop. A voice wheezes through the ashes. Moctezuma's Wi-Fi Password. The owl swoops, gulping the spectral message. Its hoot translates roughly to password incorrect. Typical. You pocket half-melted feathers for future blackmail. The cosmos owes you one. Morning light glares. Your socks are missing. The bowl's now a garden planter, thriving with mutant succulents. Circle of life. Kickstart a spiritual business venture. A tourist snaps photos. Authentic ritual experience. You nod, sliding her a feather. Bowl sold separately. She buys 3. 5-star Yelp reviews incoming. Sunset stains the crossroads crimson. You leave a final offering, breath mints and regret. The owl watches, unimpressed. Tomorrow's another underworld. The geckos approve. Dusk finds you ankle deep in cochineal beetles. Their crushed bodies staining the cobblestones, a guilt-ridden pink. The dye master tosses another log into the vat's belly. Flames lick at a broth older than your student loans. Don't sniff the fumes, he mutters too late. Your nostrils already burn with visions of sentient marigolds. Night shift workers slump against clay walls, their eyelids fluttering as they dream check indigo hues. 1 snores out a scale, 2 turquoise. Add more rotting mollusks, practical advice, or sleep talking. Hard to tell. A junior dyer offers you fermented cactus juice in a commemorative chelum cup. You decline. He shrugs, drinks it himself, and starts translating cricket chirps into Pantone codes. The vats bubble louder. A gurgling rendition of La Llorona rises from the crimson sludge. Workers cross themselves with dye-stained hands. You pretend not to hear the liquid hissing your childhood nickname. Totally normal industrial accident weather. Midnight hits like a DROPPED Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. The largest dye pot belches a ballad in perfect Zapotec. Everyone freezes. The foreman's mustache quivers. That's Abuelo Luis's drinking song. The dead dyer's voice sloshes through the workshop, lyrics detailing his secret annatto to scarlet ratio. The staff bolt for the exits, screams harmonizing with the Brew's chorus. You stay. That community college pottery class prepared you for weird, wet noises. Dawn reveals the crime scene. The vat's surface swirls with a color that shouldn't exist, a green that hums in E-flat. You dip a scrap of cotton. The fabric warps into a tiny dancing silhouette. Historians still argue whether the workers ingested ergot-laden corn or summoned a chromatic demigod. The Dyers Guild's official report blames untrained interns. A merchant materializes, offering lead-lined goggles for spectral dye viewing. You haggle with breath mints and a half-eaten churro. Through the lenses, the new hue pulses like a radioactive lung. Your teeth vibrate. Modern art galleries would auction their grandmothers for this shade. You pocket 3 beetles, barely legal, but who's monitoring entomological misdemeanors? The dye master returns his hair, now matching the uncanny green. He shrugs. Happens every never. This never happens. His left pupil contracts into a T-shaped Olmec glyph. You donate the beetles to science, or Target's home decor department. The sun climbs, shadows stretch the workshop into impossible geometries. A M.C. Escher sketch, soaked in beetle juice. You trip over a snoozing apprentice. His mumbling reveals today's lotto numbers. Write them down. Too late. He's already inhaled another cup of cactus-fueled ambition. By noon, the unstable hue fades into bureaucratic beige. City inspectors arrive with clipboards and a Prius. You blame Wi-Fi radiation. They nod sagely, cite 3 code violations, and recommend essential oils. As night falls, the vat whispers again, this time in autotune. You pour in leftover horchata as a peace offering. The sludge burps a perfect D-sharp. Someone's gotta monetize this. Pitch a Kickstarter for haunted tie-dye kits. Stretch goal. A singing scarf that judges your life choices. Sleep drags you under near the indigo vats. Dreams flicker with pulsing rainbows, their edges sharp enough to slice through rational thought. A beetle wearing your 3rd grade teacher's cardigan tuts at your life decisions. Fair, when dawn cracks the sky again, your hands sport tiger stripe dye patterns. The foreman sighs, hands you a mop. Tourists pay extra for artisanal staining. You add it to the resume. Futures bright, or possibly vibrating green. The mop handle blisters your palms, its fibers reeking of vinegar and broken promises. A sorcerer's apprentice bumps past hauling thorn-lined cloaks, each spine glistening with leftover prayers. Help thread these, he insists, already pressing a bone needle into your dye-stained fist. The thorns bite your fingertips, pain sharp as Wi-Fi withdrawal. You recognize the design from old codices, ceremonial robes called tilahuisli. Royals wore them during ascensions, their blood sanctifying the cloth. Modern replicas hang in Mexico City's Anthropology Museum, complete with gift shop plushies. This version prickles worse. Every spine's positioned over pulse points, wrists, throats, the soft dip below collarbones. Why not use regular thread? You ask, regretting it instantly. The apprentice sighs. His breath smells of burnt sage and Red Bull, each thorns carved from maguey soaked in lunar brine. They don't pierce flesh, they invite devotion. Sure, like teeth invite cavities. You stitch until Munchido stains the workshop floor. A priest arrives, his earlobes stretched by jade plugs to bless the garments. He chants in Nahuatl, a Spotify playlist of guttural vowels. Historians still argue whether the thorns symbolized ancestral guidance or just scared nobles into piety. The needle slips, you lick blood off your thumb. Metallic, salty, strangely sacred. Midnight brings initiates draped in the finished cloaks. They sway like drunk flamingos, each step jostling the thorns deeper. Crimson blossoms on fabric, feathers drinking the offerings. Someone's grandmother used to say burnt plumes could summon rain tonight. The air reeks of ozone and pending hashtags. A master weaver materializes, her apron pockets bulging with confiscated selfie sticks. She inspects your stitches, acceptable for a tourist. Ouch. She points to a brazier where bloodied feathers smolder, their smoke coiling into winged shapes. Gods prefer their meals well seasoned. Makes sense. Even deities have standards. Dawn approaches. Workers bundle the charred feathers into clay urns, labels scribbled in Sharpie. One jar reads Taco Tuesday offerings. You don't ask. Through sore eyelids, the embers pulsate, a ASMR loop of crackling divinity. The apprentice offers you a thorn-free hoodie. Seasonal collection drops next week. Pass. By noon, your forearms itch with half-scabbed pinpricks. The priest returns, offers a salve made from martyred sunflowers. You decline. He shrugs, rubs it into his own beard, now glowing like a radioactive dandelion. The cloaks hang empty, stained silhouettes swaying in the breeze. One whispers your mother's favorite hymn. You blame sleep deprivation. Raindrops finally hit, sizzling as they touch the workshop's hot stones. Feather ash swirls in puddles, forming temporary glyphs. A merchant hustles past selling purified stormwater at 10 pesos a vial. You pocket a feather fragment instead, its edge sharp enough to slice through rationalizations. Night shift workers stumble in eyeing the cloaks like jilted exes. Someone cranks a desiccated hurdy-gurdy, its drone merging with thunder. You consider the metaphysics of moth-eaten regalia. Do gods grade on a curve? The answer arrives as a thunderclap, rattling the dye vats into belching green smoke again. The sorcerer's apprentice reappears, now wearing a woke-up-like-this sleep mask. He mutters about sacred algorithms, proposes blockchain-tracked prayers. You edge toward the exit. The rain intensifies, washing dye streaks into the gutter. They swirl toward the nearest sewer like liquid regrets. Sleep claims you under a moth-eaten cloak, some optimist labeled vintage. Your dreams fill with prickling shadows, each thorn a punctuation mark in some celestial text. Dawn finds your cheek imprinted with fabric patterns, tiny feather glyphs, spelling maybe next time. Your cheek throbs where feather glyphs, imprinted overnight, tiny ridges, spelling Tettle and Ozamotley. The mute sorting boy watches from a steam-clouded corner, his sandals caked in dried spring mud. He points to boiling copper basins, each fed by volcanic vents beneath the workshop. Historians still argue whether Aztec priests used geothermal pools for divination, or just really liked hot tubs. The boy tosses a hummingbird plume into bubbling water. It sinks, then rockets backward like a rewound film. Steam coalesces into a face, some nobleman's jawline warping mid-sneer. A worker gasps. Telacketson, the corn steward, chuckles ripple. Guess even traitors get caught through bad feather juju. You notice the boy's hands, scarred in perfect grids from years of grabs at boiling springs. His sorting basket overflows with owl plumes and turkey down. Mainstream textbooks mention feather taxes paid to nobles, but not the child labor spa. The kid hurls an eagle quill. It spins, steam hissing, what might be a curse in Zapotec. Workers lean in, branding irons forgotten. A merchant once claimed obsidian mirrors could trap rebel souls. This feels cheaper and way more dramatic. The boy scrunches his nose at a floating spoonbill feather. Steam forms a coyote's head. Tax collectors, mutters an old dyer, as if that explains everything. Your turn. The boy shoves a molted macaw plume into your palm, still warm from its previous owner. Toss it. The water slurps the feather down, then belches a steam shape of your third-grade teacher. Mrs. Rodriguez glares, steam pointer finger accusing. You still owe me that book report. The workshop freezes. Even the boy looks concerned. A metaphor you offer. The workers nod gravely, as if haunted by overdue library scrolls. The high priest strolls in sipping pulque from a Stanley cup. He squints at the steam Mrs. Rodriguez. Foreign demons, he proclaims. Common with imported feathers. Sure, let's go with that. The boy resumes his soggy witchcraft. Each Plumes verdict gets scribbled on bark paper, ink made from crushed moth wings. Real Aztec bureaucrats used pictographs for record keeping. But none admitted their intel came from a kid's boiling hobby. A trader's feather gets tagged with a jade bead. Tomorrow's execution schedule sorted. You ask how he learned this. The boy pantomimes falling into a hot spring, then points to a faded mural of Tlaloc. Rain god endorsement, or just good branding. A worker confides his parents were cacao traders, got vanished over a taxation misunderstanding. The boy licks steam off the air, tasting truths you'll never swallow. Sunset stains the spring's orange. The high priest blesses the final trader plume, a garish pink number from some vain songbird. Toss it, he orders. The boy hesitates, clutching the feather to his chest. When he finally releases it, the water screams. Steam erupts, twisting into the priest's own face, mouth, gaping around unspoken lies. Workshop chaos. The boy vanishes into mist, only his sorting basket left behind. Inside, a single unburned feather pulses like a misplaced heartbeat. You pocket it. Some truths need incubation. The priest claims it was a steam malfunction, blames cheap imported sulfur. Workers swap bets on which noble's next for the spring. You sneak a Tlaxcaltec pollen cake, crumbling as you chew. The feather in your pocket hums, an arrhythmia synced to distant drum beats. Night guards drag the cursed basin away, its water still whispering shapeless accusations. You're left scrubbing mineral deposits off ladles. The boy watches from a shadowed alcove, steam curling from his nostrils. His lips move without sound. You pretend not to hear your own name in the hiss. Dawn finds the springs eerily calm, the boy gone, the priest nursing a pulque hangover. Workers drop feathers with exaggerated care, as if handling live scorpions. Your stolen plume warms against your thigh. Modern museums display Aztec death whistles, but this relic's song stays buried, a humid secret under your fingernails. The stolen feather sears your thigh as warriors march in jaguar pelts, dripping with obsidian beads. Their cloaks bristle, each plume filed sharper than a scribe's best knife. You recognize the ceremonial armor. Historians confirmed Aztec elites wore quilted cotton soaked in salt brine, but no textbook warns about vibrating feathers slicing through torch smoke like jealous whispers. A widow kneels, ash staining her hewable, grinding jade, dust into a feather's edge. Her tears sizzle against the stone mortar. Some claim the green powder honed cloaks into weapons. Others say grief was the true whetstone. The high priest scowls, still nursing yesterday's pulque headache, as she whispers to the quill, "Try that with my ex," mutters a dyer, earning elbow jabs from coworkers. You press your pilfered plume against a grinding stone. It squeals, a sound between parrot squawk and broken lyre. Warriors stiffen, their cloaks rustling like snakes, alert to prey. One jaguar knight's hem draws blood from his ankle crimson beads, swallowed by thirsty feathers. Spectators cheer the omen. Dawn breaks, the emperor's procession approaching. Historians still argue whether these blade cloaks functioned in battle or just terrified drunk diplomats. You're leaning toward both. The widow finishes her grinding, the feather now gleaming like a minnow's spine. She pricks her thumb, smeared blood, vanishing into the barbules. Workers nod. This part's verified by codices. The fringed detail. Supposedly, widows borrowed their dead husband's breath to empower the plumes. 3 exhales stored in the hollow shaft. Your neighbor whispers, as if counting supermarket coupons. Warriors form a corridor of quivering edges, cloaks humming in a dissonant chord. Your hidden feather thrums in response, a rogue instrument in the orchestra. The emperor strides forth barefoot, dawnlight catching his cloak's razored fringe. Each step shears sunbeams into confetti. You half expect him to start a lawnmower. A priest chants, invoking Huitzilopochtli's war whistle. The widow lobs her sharpened feather into the air. It rotates once, then embeds in a cedar pillar with a wet thunk. Approval murmurs ripple. Your feather tugs pocketward as if jealous of the applause. Sudden silence. The emperor halts, his cloak's hem creeping toward a puddle of pulque. Feather tips dip, drink, retract, dripping. A drunkard's giggle erupts from the quills. Guards tense. The widow freezes, mortar slipping from her hands. Jade dust clouds her sandals. Revered ancestors enjoy libations. The high priest improvises, voice cracking. Your stolen plume vibrates hotter smoke curling from your pocket. The emperor's cloak snaps upright, drenched threads hardening into spikes. He coughs. A single feather dislodges, stabbing the earth between your feet. It pulses, same rhythm as your thieved treasure. You glance at the widow. She stares back, eyes wide as Malkajeet's, and mouths don't. Drums resume. The procession lurches forward, cloak quills now retracted. Workers exhale. You extract the emperor's fallen feather. Its edge files your thumbprint into oblivion. Across the plaza, the jaguar knight's bleeding ankle stains his sandal strap. The The widow scrapes jade dust with renewed fury, each grind punctuated by sharp, wet sniffs. Your twin feathers hum in unison, a secret duel of vibrations. One destined for history's blade cloak legends, the other warming into something dangerously alive beneath stolen cloth. Salt crusts your lips as seabird shrieks pierce the harbor's stench, rotting kelp and anxiety. Parrot feather traders clack obsidian scales, their cloaks patched with moth-eaten cloak fragments. You clutch your twin feathers, one thrumming hot, one cold as a tombstone. A merchant gestures, his fingernails inlaid with stolen quill tips. 5 hands span of imperial cloak edge, he croons, for one moon's safe passage. His canoe bobs, crammed with caged macaws, plucked bald as figs. Workers mutter behind you. The dockside air reeks of fermented agave bribes. Remember those cocoa bean currencies from your 7th grade history diorama. These pirates want royals' cloak threads instead. Your thumb brushes the emperor's feather, still warm from its sunbeam shearing. The merchant's eyes track the movement, a vulture spotting fresh carrion. 7 hand spans, he amends, tilting his scale. A barnacle-covered macaw corpse tumbles onto the pier, its decomposing wings spelling warnings in fly script. Historians still argue whether cloak scraps served ritual purposes or just made fancy Mesoamerican gift cards. You're betting on both when the cold feather suddenly vibrates, a mosquito's buzz inside your ribcage. The merchant freezes, mask's parrot beak snapping shut. His companions hiss, crouching like coral snakes, ready to strike. 10 spans, he rasps, mask feathers wilting. Final offer. Your looted plume burns hotter, smoke tendrils escaping your sleeve. Workers scatter, overturning brine vats in their haste. The trader's shadow writhes, separating from his body to lick spilled brine. Okay, that's new. The cold feathers hum crescendos, caution or threat. A childhood rhyme surfaces, nursemaids warned about merchants who traded shadows for papaya wine. You toss the emperor's feather onto the scale. The obsidian plate cracks, oozing black ichor. Macaws scream as their cages sprout feather buds. The merchant's mask molds, revealing a face tattooed with seagull entrails. You'll choke on your bargains. He spits, retreating into the salt fog. His shadow remains lapping at the dock's mildew. Your surviving feather cools, nestling against your pulse point like a sleeping hornet. Behind crates, workers emerge, eyeing the corrupted scale. One whispers that the best cloak scrap counterfeiters used spider silk and hummingbird spittle. Their workshop 7 got devoured by a sentient dye that last flood season. You pocket a fallen macaw feather, its spine twists into a perfect question mark. The harbor settles, if settling includes that merchant's shadow gnawing dock pilings. Dawn reveals your cloak scraps, intact, no barnacle rot in sight for now. Somewhere beyond the reef, bare-skinned macaws begin rebuilding their plumage, thread by stolen thread. Salt cakes your sandals as you trek inland, abandoned cloak scraps marking the trail like molted snake skin. The burial mound rises ahead, its slope dotted with shears, plunged handle first into parched earth. Metal oxidizes, strange here, rust blooms into feather shapes where blades meet soil. You kneel, fingers brushing a corroded scissor handle. It vibrates, humming the same pitch as your surviving feather. 8 steps west, a stone slab bears hand-shaped indentations. Pachacuti, the Inca king, who reorganized their justice system, would have approved. Local weavers whisper his laws still bind this place. Cracked clay bowls litter the ground, each holds thumb bones coated in honey. Disciples dream-tested verdicts here for centuries. One kid's journal claimed a stolen thumb once predicted crop blights. Experts think it's symbolic. You're eyeing the stickiness on your fingers. A crow lands, pecking at dried honey. Its feathers molt into the dirt, forming a crude arrow pointing uphill. You follow, stepping over shears that twitch like compass needles. The summit's breeze carries whispers, maybe wind through rusted metal, maybe the great weaver snoring. His burial cites one rule: no wool. Cotton soles only. A pilgrim's sandal lies rotting nearby, sheepskin laces sprouting thorns. Something glints underfoot, a rusted blade fused with vertebrae. The thumb scale, according to faded frescoes, disciples balanced decisions here, left pan for accusations, right for excuses. If the bone tipped left, the accused got creative punishments. You spit into the left pan, it sizzles, etching a tiny vulture into the rust. Night falls as you build a fire. Combustion tip, dry cactus spines make decent kindling. Flames reflect off buried shears, casting blade shadows that reenact ancient trials. 2 shadows argue over grain taxes. Their judge shadow snaps scissors for emphasis. You toss a honey-coated thumb bone into the fire. It pops, releasing smoke that smells like old court transcripts. Dawn reveals the scales crusted with dew, water pooling in the accusation pan. Birds avoid drinking it. Workers claimed the dew could tattoo truths onto your tongue. You dip a finger, taste corroded metal, and something verdict-shaped. Beneath the slab, a hollow thump answers. Digging reveals a ceramic hand, its grasp frozen around jade shears, the thumb bones missing. Historians still argue whether apprentices stole digits for luck, or if the dead reclaim them during lunar eclipses. Your feather hums again. Its vibrations dislodge a scroll from the hand's wrist. Unfurling it, you find a weave diagram, thread counts, matching lunar cycles. A footnote warns against using parrot feathers harvested during crab season. Too late, your cloaks hem already prickles with suspicious crustacean energy. The scroll dissolves, ink retreating into the ceramic fingertips. You pocket the shears, their blades whispering a lullaby in trade Nahuatl. The crow returns, now missing 3 tail feathers. It pecks your boot until you leave honey in the scales. As you descend, the mound exhales, rust particles swirling into a skeletal hand. It points northeast, toward workshops where living shears cut cloth without masters. Your stolen thumb bone still warm pulses like a disputed heartbeat. Somewhere, a disciple wakes screaming, his palm branded with your face. The shears in your pack grow heavier, their song shifting to a verdict neither of you wants to hear. Moisture warps the air, your stolen feather wilts as you enter the cloak vault. Aztec nobility once draped themselves in Tenochtitlan mantles to broadcast status, gold threads shimmering like trapped wasps. These robes outlived their owners mostly. The one ahead pulses, silken folds expanding and contracting like diseased lungs. Workers called it Tlaloc's revenge, a cloak that ate 6 emperors before someone stitched its neck hole shut with barbed wire. You hesitate, fingertips brushing a cloak hem that recoils like a violated cobweb. Gold filaments squirm under the fabric, ambition given thread form. Priests warned guilds about pride seeping into seams during solstice rites. Nobody listened. Now swollen cloaks dangle from rafters, silk bellies distended with phantom conquests. One garment sways toward you, its embroidered eagles blinking. Dry cleaners would charge extra. A scroll nailed to a cedar chest offers advice. If garment resists folding, recite the 3rd loom dirge. The ink swims, revealing a footnote about jade needles dissolving in squirrel tears. Historians still argue whether sentient textiles prove Aztec animism or just really committed metaphors. Your shears vibrate, their lullaby warping into a courtroom, verdict's shrill tempo. 3 steps left, a deflated cloak crumples like a snakeskin. Touch it, and your palm sweats mercury. The guild's punishment log mentions nobles buried in living fabric, shrouds tightening yearly until ribs cracked. Not a great spa treatment. You spot one mummified wrist protruding from silk gold rings, still cutting into bone. Wind howls through arrow slits. The cloaks billow into bloated sail shapes. Your stolen thumb bone burns, its pulse urging retreat. Too late. The largest mantle unfurls, a cathedral of pride stitched from extorted jade and poet's hair. Its pattern, your face, if you'd been melted and stamped onto a war banner. The shears leap from your belt, their blades singing counterpoint to the cloak's hungry rustle. Aztec gold thread was spun with honeyed wax to prevent unraveling, clever until the wax fermented. Now the stench of rookie mead wafts from every straining seam. You jab at a loose thread, the entire garment shrieks in trade Nahuatl. Mid-slice, you recall guild rumors about vengeful textiles, sever the central filament, and stored ambition explodes as cattle wind. Leave it and become a puppet strung by dead men's greed. Your shears hesitate, their verdict song now a jury's indecisive murmur. The cloak lunges. S-I-L-K, Chinese letter, 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 Chinese letter. Smelling of priest censers and spoiled nectar. One emaciated robe twitches helpfully, its frayed edge pointing to a moth-eaten repair manual. Page 73. For garments exceeding wearer's moral weight, administer peyote enema to both parties. Scholarly debates rage about whether this was satire. You're not volunteering. A thunderclap rattles the vault, the cloaks thrash as if electrocuted. Your feather disintegrates, ash forming a Las Vegas-style arrow toward an escape hatch. 23 steps. You sprint, ankles snagged by embroidered vines sprouting from floor seams. The shears slash autonomously, releasing bursts of cologne that smells like absolved guilt. The bloated cloak blocks the exit, its neck hole, now a maw lined with obsidian shards. Guild accountants used those to shred tax records during audits. Your thumb bone glows, projecting a juror's shadow onto the wall. The cloak halts, confused by its own calcified bureaucracy. You ram the shears into its central stitch. The explosion flattens you against cedar planks. Ambition, escaping as a sirocco that reeks of toppled empires and unearned promotions. Gold threads rain down, each humming a disgraced noble's final plea bargain. Dawn filters through gaping roof holes. The vault lies quiescent, cloaks reduced to wrinkled puddles. Your shears rust, verdict rendered. Somewhere, a priest laughs into his morning pulque. The escape hatch creaks open, revealing a path strewn with molten jade and apology bouquets from the Textile Guild. Your boots squelch through ambition residue. It's the exact viscosity of overripe mango flesh. The surviving cloak scraps flutter behind like chastened puppies. One braids itself into your hair, a gaudy reminder. You swear it murmurs campaign promises as you descend toward smoke-plumed workshops. The shears snore, dull blades dreaming of simpler tasks like cutting through reasonable life choices. Your sandals crunch over discarded crane quills, bone white and sharp as eyelashes. The last weaver's hut leans like a drunk poet, walls papered with feather sketches on maguey fiber. You smell burnt sage and desperation. Aztec nobles once wove human hair into mourning cloaks, a fact tourists ignore while snapping Templo mayor selfies. Her loom dominates the room, its warp threads strung with owl talons instead of weights. The old woman's hands dance, sinews taut as bowstrings, plucking a single crane feather from her scalp's thinning silver nest. Humidity makes her hair cling to the quill, each strand fused by something stickier than sap. Threading the sky's breath, they called it, though you're pretty sure that's code for arthritis and poor life choices. She croons a lullaby in Nahuatl, the same tune hummed by temple tortoises during eclipse rites. Historians still argue whether those reptiles were sacred metronomes or just hungry. Her needle, a splintered jaguar clavicle, pierces the feather's hollow shaft. The motion triggers a gust that extinguishes your torch. Convenient, the feather drinks her hair like broth, quill bloating into a grotesque threading tool. You recall fringe theories about crane plumes channeling drowned singers' voices. Skeptics say it's just wind whistling through barbules. Then the loom starts vibrating, reed slamming down so hard it chips a tooth from the stone floor. She coughs, a wet rattle that shakes dust from ceiling cobwebs. Every exhalation tightens the weave. Her spine curls into the classic eternal hunch pose, favored by master artisans and overcaffeinated scribes. The emerging pattern, a perfect negative of the Milky Way, if the Milky Way were knitted from ghostly bronchial tubes. Her final stitch, a loop knot around her big toe, draws blood that beads like mercury. The loom shrieks, a sound between howler monkey and broken elevator. Then silence. The hut fills with the scent of ozone and funeral lilies. You check her pulse, wrist cold as a Teotihuacan obsidian mirror. But the loom's still moving. Reed clacks echo like a countdown, patterns now weaving themselves with phantom thread. Some claim her death rattle lives in the wood's grooves, a sonic loom song that'll outlast empires. You're not sticking around to test it. Outside, dawn leaks across the sky like a broken egg yolk. The hut emits a low C-sharp drone, annoying as a Chinese letter lizard's mating call. Villagers later reported lasting 3 decades proof of devotion or really bad acoustics. You pocket the jaguar needle. It hums faintly, your new worst souvenir. You lie beneath a borrowed cloak, its feathers pricking your neck like impatient insect legs. Aztec royals once slept in feather-lined burial shrouds, believing they'd fly to Mictlan. Though you're pretty sure dead folks don't need lumbar support. The air tastes of burnt honey and damp wing membranes. Your cheek brushes a molted macaw plume stitched with human hair coarse as pirate rope. Historians still argue whether those strands came from willing devotees or unlucky haircut recipients. Moonlight slants through gaps in the thatched roof, spotlighting motes that dance like disoriented fireflies. The cloak shifts, barbs rearranging themselves into a map of Tenochtitlan's canals. Coincidence or passive-aggressive interior decorating? You recall that featherworkers drank pulque spiked with morning glory sap to see weave patterns in the stars. Modern replicas use Red Bull and wishful thinking. A chill creeps up your spine, not from the night air, but from 73 hummingbird throats vibrating against your shoulder blades. Their long-dead whispers tickle your medulla oblongata, crossing wires between memory and hallucination. Scholarly types insist it's just static electricity from dry feathers. Try telling that to your goose flesh. Dawn approaches, its first rays catching on iridescent barbules that hum chromatic scales. The cloak tightens, stitches sighing like overburdened hammocks. Museum placards never mention how ceremonial garb cuddles. You're either experiencing a sacred embrace or allergic asphyxiation. Sleep comes jagged, a fever dream of wings brushing your frontal cortex. You float above a pyramid where feather-clad scribes tally eclipses using owl pellet abacuses. One winks as he scribbles your name in dust made of crushed cricket wings. Post-colonial guilt makes a terrible sleep aid. The cloak grows lighter by degrees, threads dissolving into dandelion fluff, conspiring with the breeze. Last night's feathers now dust your collar like avian dandruff. Your guide will charge extra for dry cleaning. Somewhere, an emperor's ghost tuts at your sweat-stained sacrilege. The borrowed cloak settles, its feathers softening against your neck like dried reeds after rain. Aztec royals whispered of flight to Mictlan in such garments. Though your spine insists, even spirits might crave cushioned seats. Breathe slower. Now, the burnt honey haze unraveling into something like petrichor and old parchment. That macaw plume by your cheek. Its human hair thread feels less like rope, more like a relic, braided with forgotten apologies. Moonlight thins, gray seeping into the hut's crevices. The feather map of Tenochtitlan blurs, canals dissolving into faint smudges. Pulque visions fade with the stars, leaving only a metallic tang on your tongue. You almost miss the hummingbird buzz, now just a phantom pulse beneath your shoulders. Scholars can keep their static explanations. This quiet feels sacred. Dawn's light gentles the barbules, their hum mellowing to a lullaby. The cloak loosens, stitches sighing as they release their grip. Maybe ceremonial garb does hug when it knows you're listening. Your breath steadies, no longer battling cloth or centuries of expectations. Sleep arrives in fragments, a feather brushing your temple, not wings. The pyramid dream shrinks, its owl pelatabacus scribbles, fading like chalk in wind. The cricket wing dust, just motes now dancing where your eyelashes meet half-light. Morning lifts, the cloak's weight, threads fraying into pollen drift. Feathers cling to your sleeves, translucent as moth wings. Let the guide grumble. These wisps hold stories even dry cleaners wouldn't erase. Somewhere, a ghostly chuckle stirs the air. Not judgment, just amusement at mortals who borrow divinity, then fret over lint, rest eyes closed, as the last barbule's song sinks into silence. Your heartbeat cradles the stillness. The world and its ancient secrets can wait until after breakfast.